Welcome to Town Hall episode 14. We have a guest this week as well as a lot to talk about. Let's just dive straight into the introductions. To the, I guess, bottom right of me on this new overlay, we have Mr. Shamtu. How you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. Went through and watched the QA today, as well as a bunch of new hero stuff coming out. Pretty excited. I'm also going to go to a couple of Smash tournaments in the coming weeks that I'm getting set up. Going to SK Tar, so Solid Jake and I are going to be buddies there. So he's going to be stuck. Okay, so Solid Jake's not going to be my buddy there. I'm going to go and I'm going to play first round and I'm going to get paired up against some pro and get beaten silly. So that's good for me.
Good attitude going into it, I guess. I guess to the left of him, we have our special guest this week, former StarCraft 2 professional gamer, as well as Brood War professional gamer, kind of just makes awkward intros with Leah B. Jackson over at IGN.com. It's Idra. How you doing, man?
Hello, I'm pretty good. It was supposed to be an exciting day. I thought we were going to get a new patch with a bunch of cool stuff. Instead, we just got teased about it, so...
Yeah.
A little bitter about that, but otherwise everything's good.
You know, if they were to do that kind of Q&A type style thing and then release the patch like later that night, that would be a really cool way to do it. Just give, a brief introduction and then, but no. They're just kind of like, haha, we hate the world. Oh well. Corey, man, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, a lot of new stuff coming out that we can't play with. So sad. Yeah, got to play a lot of Diablo over the weekend. For you guys that don't know, it was the 2-year anniversary. So lots of legendary buffs. Did a little bit of that, a little bit of heroes. Good times. Yep.
Right. And the man, did he actually unmute his mic from MLG? It's Mr. Solid Jake.
Yeah, I'm unmuted, and thanks for the reminder, but that was good. Yeah, played a lot of Diablo this weekend. I've now switched over to playing random most of the time on heroes, so I'm just trying to get a lot more experience with a lot of different characters, because when I play, I just kind of tend to stick to like 4 or 5 guys. So I'm branching out, having a lot of fun, learning a lot of new stuff about the game, and yeah, we got taunted hard today. Like we got baited. We were just ready for Murky. Oh, it's Murky week. Oh, we're gonna play Murky. Nope. I'm very sad, but I'm excited to talk about him either way.
Yeah, it's we saw a lot on him. If you guys are interested, though, at the end of the show, if we have time, we'll be asking or answering your questions for either the show or for Idra himself. You can go over to the Ret thread. I just linked it in chat. Post your questions there. But let's just dive into our first topic. The Q&A was today. They actually talked a lot about the patch, which was really cool. Let's just go into like what everyone's mind is on right now. Let's talk about Murky. All of his abilities were discussed. Didn't really dive into his talents. I mean, let's just go ahead and talk about his W. It's the pufferfish. Throw out a little pufferfish, has an AoE on it, charges up and then explodes, and does quad damage to buildings. Greg, what are your thoughts on pufferfish? Like just right off what you saw.
Well, they said it dies in like a few hits. I'm not sure exactly how much a few is, but yeah. I mean, we've seen a healing word dies in 1 hit, and some people still disregard it and don't deal with it. But I think something that deals damage is going to be more immediate. I don't think it's going to be like any impact at all in a fight. But he's kind of designed to be a split pusher, so we'll see. I don't know, with both him and Zagara, I'm just curious to see if a split pusher can work at all in the game. Like if there's room for that role.
Yeah,
Kevin?
I mean, Murky has a lot of like backdooring. Sorry to interrupt like that, but Murky has a lot of backdooring, so I don't know if he's going to be as much of a split pusher as he's going to be just kind of like backdoor one specific lane as much as possible, because Zagara is going to be all over the map. I don't think Murky has like an extreme amount of mobility. But I see what you're saying.
Well, so they said that his pufferfish is going to take damage. Well, they said it's like a chest, so I would assume it's not like somebody like Demon Hunter is going to be able to like one-shot it, whereas Diablo is going to have to be able to hit it a couple times. I think it's all based on single damage, and it's going to be like 5 health or something. Maybe you can target down really quickly.
So
that's what I would be excited for.
I got pretty scared when I saw that, to be honest, because there was like, oh, it's like a chest. And I'm like, well, you know what? Early game chests don't actually go down that fast, and if it does a lot of damage to towers, they may need to tweak that. I don't know. We'll see. It's probably something that will be really strong in the beginning, and then towards later in the game, not useful at all. But again, we have no idea how much damage it does, how it's going to play out. But
you have to think it's going to do low, like just base damage, because if it's going to do quad damage to towers, there's no way it can have a strong base damage versus like minions or heroes. So you have to assume it's going to have like just a very low base damage, and then it's only for building pushing. Is what I would assume. If it does
anything more than like a third of a turret's health at level 1,
of course it won't do
way too much.
A third of a turret's health.
Yeah, but I mean, they're showing this thing like on the Q and it's just exploding turrets, and I'm like, oh, that's
but
fine.
like everything that they do, it'd be like Tychus gets one minigun attack off and somebody explodes.
Right. I mean, I caveated that with we don't know yet, but
every time
I think it's too much health. It could be really imbalanced.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I mean, I would assume Blizzard's not going to make it do a third of the tower's HP. That would be absurd.
It's not really. The curious thing is, it's not really synergistic to his whole entire "I'm going to keep dying" thing, because I would think that he would make him more of like a hero.
Well, kind of
killer.
Like what you could do.
A sieger.
Most people would assume it would work like when the wave's pushing up is when you get those in, but you know, since he has that quick respawn at the egg, what people could be doing is suiciding on our towers, getting the bomb off, and then, like, does it still explode when you kill it off, or like?
No, I don't think so. I think it has to like fully, because it grows over time. I think it has to like pop, not just die.
Okay. Well, then never mind then on that complete thought. Well, it does look like a cool ability. I mean, without numbers though, we'll never really know. Let's talk about safety bubble. It seemed to give him a movement speed increase. Seemed to make him hover. I don't know if that'll give him the ability to like go over buildings or walls or not. I mean, it did look like he was kind of floating a bit, but will he be able to move over a train? I don't know. And then it makes him invulnerable and untargetable. What are you guys' thoughts, Kevin?
That looked really strong for something that's supposed to die a lot.
Again, like my thought.
It's just the only thing is I'm just thinking about the trait and like what they kind of sold him as Jake hits the wrong production button.
I saw that.
Sorry.
I'm just like what the whole entire deal was like he keeps dying and doing this, but now you're giving him something that sieges, which doesn't. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense that he keeps dying, and then something that makes him invulnerable, which I don't know. It's weird. But cool, I guess.
But I mean,
sounds cool.
We don't know exactly how long he's going to be dead when he dies and goes back to his egg each time. So, like,
it's
maybe
5 seconds.
I thought they said 5 seconds.
Okay.
5 seconds.
Sorry, I was watching it while at work. I haven't had time since I got home. But
okay, so 5 seconds is
that's really not bad, and that's really quick. But at the same time, I mean, you don't just want to be dying every time. He probably has an incredibly small health pool. I mean, they didn't confirm how much health he has, right? Like compared to
they really didn't give us any stats.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm expecting him to be like ridiculously squishy. Like Nova's probably just gonna rip him apart in like 3 hits, or Raynor or anybody like that, Falstad. So I don't know. I feel like they probably had to give it to him if he has it.
It feels like their goal with the hero was just make something that's annoying as possible in every way. So they're like, well, it's annoying if you can't possibly kill something. So they gave him Tassadar's E. And split pushers are annoying, so they put like all of Witch Doctor's push stuff together in the little bomb. And then, well, I mean, obviously the respawn, I don't know. But yeah, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of synergy in terms of like gameplay goals with it, because the respawn doesn't necessarily help a split pusher because there's no ability in it. Right. You know, so like drop an egg on one side of the map, run across the other, go do your shit, and then die, and then like respawn at the other side of the map, which doesn't really work that well. So I'm not really sure like what they're expecting his gameplay to work like. They mentioned that the Octo grab ult was more of like a team fight ult, so it kind of seems like they want him interacting with heroes. But then they've also introduced him as like a suicidal split pusher. It seems very all over the place.
Yeah, it's probably going to depend a lot on how he's talented, but yeah, like the slime, this has got a slow and a DOT, like that screams team fights at you, you know what I mean?
8 seconds slow is pretty like absurdly strong.
25% too, that's a huge
So
slow.
good.
Yeah.
Did they say the cooldown on that? It's got to be like 15 seconds.
No, I don't think they would give that number.
It's got to be like 15 seconds.
Yeah, the only number they actually gave for him was the 8-second slow.
Well, they did say that the slime could still be on him after you've respawned to cast it again.
Right.
That was the only hint that they gave. But
wow.
Yeah, I do get that feeling too, that they're sort of trying to give him 2 roles to play, team fighter or a split pusher. Maybe that's just depending on how you talent him. And if he could do both, fine, cool, more power to him. But if he does one bad, then he probably might end up being really underpowered to start at least. But
I feel like the pufferfish quad damage versus buildings is going to be a talent. Like there's no way that's going to be there on start.
No, it's
like,
built in on him.
That's
yeah, but they also said like that kind of stuff for when they were talking about original hero designs that ended up being talent based stuff. I think siege tanks like hover and everything.
But you're talking 4 times damage. Like that's a talent that you have to get. That's a talent option that's
you don't have to get that.
Unless the other options are equally like as ridiculous.
No, they didn't. They wouldn't have said, like, oh, it does 4 times damage to building without clarifying if it was a talent or not. It's built into it for sure.
They also said the hero damage was pretty pitiful, so it feels like the entire ability is calibrated around being an anti-building thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like he just tickles you when he smacks you with his fish, so... I don't know. He sounds weird, but fun.
Yeah,
it's a very weird sentence.
They're definitely unique. Talking about unique, let's talk about March of Murlocs. That thing looks so ridiculous. Every time a Murloc jumps onto a hero, it increases the slow and increases the damage he's taking. Like, what?
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. Especially the accumulating slow. I mean, until we see the numbers, we can't be sure, but that has to be.
The thing is he's going to be really easy to stun out of that, and everyone's just going to save their stuns and knock him out of it.
Oh, it's channeled?
Yeah, but...
It's channeled.
Oh.
Yeah, he does have like a little conch cell out while he's doing it.
But you have to think about this. If you have somebody like an ETC, that's somebody you have to save a stun for. You have a Murky, that's another person you have to save a stun for. You start like racking up these, how many people you have to save a stun for.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, especially if you're going like a Wombo combo-esque strategy, I mean, how many stuns do you want? Wouldn't you want more damage output? Because there's not a ton of damage on that. It looks like more of a positional, you know, you can secure, like, block off a lane with it. I mean, you can just really... It looks really good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you would want to pair, like, Uther, ETC, and Murky for those 3 stuns. I don't think it'd be very good.
Well, if it's damage amplification, you could have, like, him and then, like, commit quite a bit to a front line to just protect him, and then you just have, like, a Raynor and a Vala, and that plus damage amplification is going to be more than enough. And they all just sit behind the front line and kind of wreck everything. Like, it really depends on the numbers, but if I didn't realize it had damage amplification, I just thought it was a slow. But that could be pretty silly, especially if it stacks. Like, if an Uther and an ETC protect him long enough for it to start to stack up, people will just start getting, like, 4-shot by Raynor.
That's true.
That's what I was thinking immediately, was an Executioner type build with that. That would be pretty fun.
Yeah, and
I mean, I just use it just because it's got a giant horn. It's just that's just awesome to me.
Oh man, I was nerding out. I wish the VOD was on YouTube because I would put that clip up right now. But oh man, I was so hyped when I saw that.
Just like, I would immediately just run into battle and then just yell, "Ride with me!" or something like that, and then just have everybody like on horses coming behind.
So the only way this heroic's going to work is if everyone takes the Uther ult that makes one hero invincible, right? That's it.
What's the duration on that?
Only way, but yeah.
No.
I mean, you can stand behind.
I still don't think people are going to run
Divine
that.
Shield, I think it's...
Is that what it's called?
Divine Shield,
yeah.
I think it's...
Probably like 2 seconds.
No, it's like 6 seconds.
Well, think about it. I mean, the range was not that bad. You could stand on one side of the wall while tribute's being contested and just have that go down into like where
that's true.
That's very true. I think he's going to be very good. Like he's either going to be very good or very bad. Like there's going to be no in between.
He's going to be good. Okay. He's
I know you're
Jared
excited.
will see to it. Jared will see to it.
Yeah, that hype, man.
3 seconds
Murky
for Divine
main
Shield.
hype.
Okay.
It was 3. Yeah. I mean, I didn't. Yeah, let me check to see what the talent upgrade is at 20.
To touch on the other
1
ult just a
second
little bit, though, Octograb is the name of it. A gigantic
squid arms.
Kraken pops out of the ground and just pins them in place, and then at level 20 you can grab a shark and beat. That was the funniest thing I've ever like. I'm just smacking him with a shark.
I was not expecting it at all, and I just like screamed out in the middle of the office, like, "Oh my god!" I was so hyped. Like, my coworker's just like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" I'm just like, "Man, you don't appreciate sharks? What's wrong with you?"
Sharks with bolo attack.
Sharks are. I don't get that.
It's like the right amount of ridiculousness. Like nobody, it's right where it's not too ridiculous. That it's just like, come on, Blizzard, you're trying too hard.
But it's murky, so it fits. Like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I agree.
He's just like a joke character, and yeah, I mean, same with like the alarm clock. Like it's just the right amount of subtlety and hilarity.
In all honesty though, I don't think it's going to be the more preferred ult. If you like compare it to every other ult in the game, a lot of the lockdown ults tend to be AoEs. You got Divine Storm, you got Apocalypse. I don't really see a single target stun being that priority of a pick over a million Murlocs that slow everybody on the field and then increase damage. So,
well, the big difference is the channel versus no channel, I think.
Right. It's the channel and how squishy is he and how easy is he going to be to just pick off.
I think the damage output of the single target ult is actually a pretty big deal because that would be the go-to for split pushing. if it meant he could solo pretty much anyone.
I agree.
Because
Good
like
point.
the point of split pushing is if you pull 2 people away, then your team has an advantage. So if that allows him to one-on-one pretty much anyone, like kind of the reason you get poison on Witch Doctor at level 2, because he pushes pretty well, and with poison he can solo people pretty well early on. It's like that except times 10 since it's heroic and like a lockdown as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, if he actually does a good amount of damage during that, and it's not just like a hard CC, if it's also damage, that could be pretty good for a split push Murky if that actually works.
Good point.
Yeah.
I don't know. A million Murlocs, though. I mean, there's no way I won't ever.
And a
ever
freaking conch that just summons them all. It's amazing.
Let's move on to other hero changes. Let's talk about Murden. They changes across his entire kit. Not really how he's played, or well, of course, if he played differently, but no ability changes really. They decreased the mana cost of Stormbolt and Thunderclap. We talked about Murden last week, where sometimes he does have mana issues. Gave him a bunch of new Thunderclap talents. Apparently, he's like the only hero that had like a really bad win rate. He had less than 50%. At least that's the only one they brought up. Like the only time they've ever talked about win rates before.
I've never heard them say that, which was cool. It's good that they're tracking that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's enough. It's just my gut feeling. Like, yeah, he does have mana problems. It's nice they're fixing that. Then they're like, well, we can make him a little bit more healing, but we'll take away amplification of healing. And then they didn't fix like his utility. Like he still is just this guy that's like poking you with stuns, and I don't know. I wasn't impressed with the changes. I don't think it's going to make enough of a difference, but we'll see.
I mean, the only significant change, I mean, the mana cost reduction is nice, but like one talent that seemed kind of significant is the talent that heals you for every target you hit with Thunderclap, 1% per target. So like if you're in the middle of a creep wave and you hit like, and then there's like 2 like heroes there, that can be like easily 8 to 10% healing.
I actually think that's really big.
I think they said that was the same talent level as Thunderclap does triple damage if you hit a single hero with it, though.
Yeah.
And another problem with it is he has almost no damage output, so picking between the two. And I must feel like this is what it sounds like they're doing with Arthas, where they just kind of throw you a bone so you don't feel upset about buying him, and then they have a rework coming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
They hinted at an Arthas or a kit change.
I don't really see the. I mean, I don't think the biggest problem with him was his mana. I mean, he was, a very mana-heavy hero, but I don't think that was his biggest problem. Once you get that one talent that makes mana a little bit more efficient, whenever you cast your Stormhammer, or whatever the heck it was called, that pretty much solved most of his mana problems. I never really ran out of mana with him too often. And getting rid of Amplified Healing gets rid of the synergy with Stone Form later on, which was pretty much 90% of what I thought made him actually useful. I think he just needed a little bit more stun duration on some of his talents and his avatar.
Yeah.
Wasn't there a change to Haymaker as well?
They said something was a change, but I didn't quite catch it. I missed it.
I watched it twice. I don't remember Haymaker change.
They showed it. They showed a clip of it, but I don't recall them doing anything specific with it.
Now, last week we talked about reducing the cooldown on it, and I think that would make it a lot better. But I definitely didn't hear them say that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate because I think a cooldown reduction could actually help him out quite a bit.
A lot, yeah. It would make a big difference.
So it was kind of upsetting not to see something like that, but I don't think it'll help that much. That's just my gut feeling, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think they missed like the core problem with his actual issues.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I mean, that's how I play him, and that's the great thing about the game is that's how I play him. But unfortunately, getting rid of Amplified Healing kind of ruins how I play him, so...
But I mean, it almost sounds like they're just kind of tweaking a lot of these characters. I mean, they made a lot of changes to a lot of characters, so they're still feeling out. It's an alpha still. I mean, a lot of the characters are just going to keep getting reworked, and I bet you...
Don't make excuses for them, Jake, okay?
No, I'm just putting that out there because... Arthas is going to get reworked more and more and more. I mean, instead we're getting... Let's just segue into
leave him
Arthas.
alone.
He's getting Death Coil, right? That's all. I was at work while the stream was on. I caught that, but can we go into more detail?
Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into Arthas, even though he's way down there on the show notes.
Oh, okay.
Jake.
Sorry.
No.
I'm just telling he's what I'm thinking about right now. So
they didn't really say too much on him. They said he wasn't really feeling Lich King-y, so they added Death Coil. Frost Strike is now his new trait, so I don't know what's happening to his old trait. And now he feels more mighty. That's all they say.
So
it's not his new trait. They added it to it.
Really?
So Death Coil is part of his Q?
Yeah, Death Coil becomes his Q, and then they said Frost Strike. Frost Strike is now his trait. Kevin's saying that it's a part of his trait, so the old damage is now adds a Frost Strike to the.
I think it's yeah. Your hits will now slow and do more damage. I think is what they're trying.
Every hit for the duration, or just like first hit.
Wait, for the duration. I mean, that's
Frost
okay. They were very
slow.
specific, but this is what I'm assuming is what they were saying.
So his auto attack might be slowing.
Yes.
If he had when he used the trait, but I don't think that's the case. That would be absurd.
So you think his trait's inactivate?
His trait's already inactivate.
Yeah. But they could be working it entirely.
That's what I thought. I thought they were just changing the trait to where it was going to be a Frost Strike, but Kevin said it's going to add.
mean, so the trait right now is it does a little bit. It adds damage and it does mana regen, which is kind of nice. I think adding the frost to it is a little bit too much, but if that's what they think that his kit needs, I think the Death Coil, however, is a great solution to the fact that you always have to rely on Rune Tap to stay alive.
So
you can cast Death Coil to get health back. Right. Maybe Rune Tap isn't even that needed.
Did they go into depth as to how Death Coil works? Can you heal with it?
No,
can you damage,
that's literally all they said was what I read.
They gave like 2 sentences on him.
Death Coil in World of Warcraft, Death Coil can be used to heal friendly targets if you spec it a certain way. Death Coil can be used to damage your enemy and heal yourself. So Death Coil is actually it has a lot of possibilities. I mean, if you can heal your allies with Death Coil as Arthas, then he goes way up in the list.
Okay, we can probably assume that that's going to be a talent. The core of Death Coil, especially from when I was a Warlock and when I played Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2, is you do damage and you receive that damage in health.
Yeah,
that's the core. That's always how Death Coil's
been.
Right. There might be a talent later on that maybe everybody around you gets a quarter of that or something.
That'd be huge.
That'd be massive, but something like that.
That'd be really cool. I'm excited. I think those are good changes. I know Zoya, you love your Artho, but Artho is
he is great and doesn't need to be changed. People who don't understand him are bad.
So
end of discussion.
Yeah, actually, I was about to ask you what you wanted to see it change to.
Nothing.
Nothing. Leave him alone.
No, he needs changes.
I think he needs changes, and I agree that it didn't feel Death Nerdy, because I think I'm the big Warcraft nerd on this show, but he didn't really feel like the Lich King to me. So now this actually one ability makes a big difference. So we'll see.
We'll see. Let's talk about Stitches. Stitches is probably the most interesting changes. They changed the Pulverize talent that was originally a stun on Slam for, I think, 1.5 seconds. I don't remember but they're tuning it down to a half-second stun, and then it does 50% more damage. Slam does. So maybe Slam... I remember we tried out Slam builds for a while, early alpha launch, and then it was just not good enough.
They're bad.
Maybe with this, Slam will become viable, because when you get both of the range increases on Slam, it's absurd. It's huge. It's like a massive cone in front of you. So I don't know if 50% more damage is going to be good enough, but
the base damage is so pitiful that extra 50% hardly seems worth it, though.
Yeah. I was a little confused. He was talking about it being a half-second stun, but that's what it is right now. So he was like, did he say that it was a second and then they tuned it down? Anybody catch that part?
They did say they tuned it down.
But it's already a half-second.
Oh.
So they're not changing it, or...
I don't know then.
Yeah.
Is it a half-second innately, or after the talent?
There is no stun on it innately. You have to add a half-second.
At level 16 is Slam's target... Slam's target for... Slam stuns targets for 0.5 seconds.
Here's the problem, though. It's on the same talent as Fishing Hook, so...
Yeah, that's
it's like, okay, thanks.
Here's the problem, though. Hook is going to be able to catch 2 opponents at once.
Or 2 allies.
So let's talk about the hook and the fact that they're making it so you can talent into being able to hook an ally. I think that should be just a default thing. I don't think that you should have to talent into that.
I understand why it's not there.
Are you trying to make him pudge?
Yeah, it's not there because they want to make it more user friendly. I think easy to pick up. It's something that can be really annoying, especially if you're playing on solo queue. It would be obnoxious trying to coordinate that. So I can understand why it's a talented thing.
All right. How do you feel about the new options though, Corey? Does it make them a lot better?
I was a little surprised to see that they were on different tiers, the grab ally and grab 2 people. That was surprising me. When you first texted me while I was at work, you were like, "Oh, he can grab people, or he can grab two people, or a teammate." I was like, "Oh, those are going to be definitely on the same tier," and then they're not. So I'm like, "Okay, that's kind of interesting." But my prediction is that they're going to either take fishing hook out, or it's going to be on the same talent. I feel like they're going to do that.
What are two of Stitch's biggest weaknesses? He's not as tanky as other tank. Sometimes he just feels more squishy, so they helped his healing a lot with the new Devour, or the talent for it. And then he doesn't have the ability to peel like other tanks does. He's not like an ETC or a Diablo. He doesn't have the ability to peel, unless you're like hooking one person out of the group, which requires you to be away from your group, which you don't want to be as a tank. You want to be body blocking. You want to be trying to get in there. So being able to hook two people, or being able to pull away allies who are bad, that almost fixes the problem that he has. In my opinion, I don't think they're going to change either of them. I like the changes. I think this makes him a much better hero.
No, they're definitely upgrades. That's for sure. And
yeah, it's
the
nice
fact that they're adding new talents across the board, it seems like, is actually really good because it gives more diversity in the game in general. So, but I don't know if it's enough to put him at the very top of the list. Still, I really don't.
I don't know. I actually think the two-person hook. I mean, there's some situations where it'll be nice, but I think it could actually be pretty detrimental to you because hooking. In part, it's just to isolate people. So bringing in two people in itself is a little bit iffy, but the bigger thing is it has to be a very precise ability, because if you hook in ETC or, I don't know, any other tank who wants to be in the middle of a fight to initiate it or something, that can actually just lose your team the fight. And now there's a chance that you're aiming for that Demon Hunter and ETC is standing a little bit behind her, and you get both of them, and you lose anyway, because ETC then just mosh pits and you die. So, I don't know. I honestly think I would not want to have hit two heroes with the hook. Plus, how often is it actually going to be that helpful? How often are you going to get two squishies lined up and you want to get them both? Or
yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I can see that. It's going to be something I have to play around with quite a bit just to see if it is actually useful or not. But
I think it actually makes hooking much harder to use well.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I go back to like him being able to peel. Like if they're all on top of your team and you don't have the hook ally one, you can just kind of back away, and then all of a sudden you can pull, especially with the range, you can get two people out of that fight very far away. And now it becomes like, it goes from a 4v5 to a 4v3, and that can be kind of game-breaking.
Yeah, another thing is how the talents will interact. Like, which ones do you have to give up? Can you get both grab ally and grab two people? And then can you, like, have an ally go in and try to initiate?
They showed you could.
You can. They are on different tiers, so that's what really I was shocked at. Yeah.
Yeah, you have someone go in and initiate, and, like, pick a fight, and then you hook them back along with the person that they're, like, fighting or right in front of or something.
That could be really cool.
Interesting. And then
there's definitely going to be some sick plays, for sure.
I can't imagine you can have a fishing hook on top of that, but if you could, that would be just absurd.
One of those has to be on the same tier as range.
Yeah.
There's no way you can get all three of those.
There's no way they're going to allow that. There's no way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll definitely see some sick plays out of it, though. It'll be pretty hype either way. But yeah, I was kind of surprised, though. Of all the characters, I was not expecting Stitches to get a big rework. I thought he already sort of had a place in the meta, and you know he's got his job. He's effective at it, and it was just a bit of a surprise, I guess.
I think he's someone I feel could be pretty iconic, or at least like a very player favorite kind of hero. So they want to make sure he's exactly right. Because Pudge, like if you look at games played in Dota, it's like Pudge is always twice as high as the next hero or something. He's by far the most popular hero. People just like that kind of mechanic for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So I think they're gambling on him being a pretty big draw for people.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I somehow just stepped on my own foot and it really hurt.
How? You weigh 30 pounds. How is that possible?
I'm just curious on the physics of all of it. I am curious as to why Stitches is getting a stronger hook when I think hook is like his best talent. And
yeah, that was
pretty much the thing that's game breaking right now.
Game breaking?
I mean, not game breaking. It's like it's really good. It's really good.
It's really good.
There are other heroes that need work before Stitches. I think that's really the bottom line, in my opinion.
Yo, they're having fun with Stitches. They're like, yo, what if we do this? It's gonna be great. They're gonna love it.
Yeah.
No, like when we were playing in the tournament, there was never a time where we were like, let's favor Stitches in this situation. It was always like ETC and Diablo are by far better, so we're always going to try and play with one of those two.
That's good to know from the team that didn't win it.
Okay, you got knocked out first round.
We did lose to a team that ran Stitches.
I'm sorry. I just had to do that. But But I mean, Stitches was pretty prominent in the tournament, was it not? Oh, was he not?
Yeah, he was. It was
really go
and really, we can't judge that much off that tournament because I think a lot of it wasn't really so much which hero was really overpowered. I think it was a lot of it was just kind of everybody's still.
Well, I was meaning to say was I don't like look at Stitches right now and go, well, he needs to be nerfed, or like I don't look at him and go like, wow, this is a perfect hero. Like I think he does need a little bit of tweaking. I don't know if this is where he needed to be tweaked, but I don't think he's like good, like the perfect hero.
I think after the death of Bile, he was pretty good. Like it's because I think Executioner is generally underrated. Any hero who can apply Executioner to that many heroes at once, on top of just the fact that it's a team-wide slow, is really, really powerful. Plus, he's pretty tanky. He's kind of disruptive. The hook is it's a unique ability right now, and it's an incredibly powerful one. I actually really like the. Maybe not specifically for Stitches is a good thing, but I really like that they're willing to focus on the hook so much so. Like his W is almost a non-factor. His E is nice and whatever, but everyone knows him for his hook. His hook is his good thing, and they're still continuing to improve it because it kind of shows that they're willing to not make just a bunch of homogenous, bland heroes that all have similar strengths and weaknesses and whatnot. They're making someone who is built around a specific, really powerful thing, and he kind of sucks at everything else, and they're okay with that, and they're trying to make sure that the strong thing is strong enough to actually be make him a good hero. I think it's really good that they're willing to do that, just speaking for the future of the game design. Because I think that's one thing Dota really has on League. Like, they're willing to make heroes who fit a specific niche and are clearly designed for it and are really good at it in really exciting ways. Whereas League just tries to make everything, renamed, reskinned versions of each other for the sake of balance.
I mean, I'm just curious what your experience is with both those games. Have you played much League or Dota?
Yeah, I played League for 6 months as my intro to MOBAs, and I never got very good at it. And then after the International, I switched to Dota, and I got up to 4,000, 4,500 MMR, and I at least watched it a lot. So I'm not very good at either, but knowledgeable enough.
Cool.
Let's just move on to Sergeant Hammer. They swapped the mines and the siege button. I know that's going to be
so nice.
Ruining my world.
Most OP
for the first day
change of all time. I can't even just wow.
I enjoyed that they spent 2 minutes talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly though, that is a very it's a very interesting thing on MOBA and how we perceive the buttons of Q, W, E, and R, right? Typically, I've always associated E with the escape thing. Like in League of Legends, most of your escape mechanics are on E. Not all of them. I mean, there's a lot of champions that you can say in League of Legends who do have escapes on different buttons. Tristana would always mess me up because I think her Q is her jump. No, her W? Her W is a jump. But it's interesting to see that something that's like the Q is the main button and you don't really want to be hitting Siege that often.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have we all died by accidentally hitting Q as Sergeant Hammer?
Yeah.
I've seen you do it a lot, Kevin. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. They usually make the utility / defensive things on E. So, I like the change. They've actually added a lot to Hammer. They added a bunch of siege mode talents. One of them was the longer you're sieged up, your range begins to grow up to 5 extra range. That's absurd.
Oh my god. I feel like that talent was added into the game specifically because of the hover talent.
For sure.
Because nobody gets it. It's so bad. But 5 extra range, that's a lot. That's a real lot.
That is an awful lot. What's her base siege range? How do all the talents interact? If your base range is
all right. So here, I think you start with neutral at 5/5. Yeah. And then you can get +2, and then it's bugged right now, so you can't get +3. And I'm pretty sure Siege gives you +2 on top of whatever you have.
Okay.
So I think out of the gate you have 7.
2.5.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. With the talent.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm glad Blizzard noted that Siege mode definitely was not used, or when it was used, it's just bad. So I'm glad they're trying to do something to fix
Siege
it.
mode increases
5
by
extra range.
4 range.
Oh, it's 4. Okay.
So it's going to start off at 4 and get up to 9. Which honestly, I was sitting here and I was trying to a long time trying to think of what would probably be the best way to fix Sergeant Hammer in a way that's not going to be overpowered in terms of team fights. I was like, maybe increase her range dramatically, her vision range. And I think that actually might be the best one, because you don't. I mean, I'm hoping you don't actually get that range of vision. It's going to be like Siege Tanks in Brood War, where it's like they can shoot like 8 freaking screens over, but they actually have to see it first, and that's an exaggeration, of course. But they have a range longer than they can actually see, and I think that's a very smart way to do that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm honestly curious how much of a difference it's going to make, because I feel like you still don't want to be sieged up in fights, no matter what. Like, I think just giving up the mobility is such a big issue.
Well, not in fights, but like when you're sieged in another, and like you have an idea, with 15 range, you could be sitting in the bush at the middle of a lane instead of having to be like remotely close to the fort. And you could probably sit in that bush and take out the fort and have a little bit of an easier time getting back to your tower or your
it increases the margin for error by just a little bit. But I don't know. I don't feel like she needed buffs on that end.
I feel like her Z needs to be a shorter cooldown.
Yeah.
I feel like her mobility is still really bad, and the cooldown on that is too long. And I think that's still. I mean, the knockback talent you can get on the mines, that's gonna help. It's gonna help keep her alive, and it sounds really fun. And they mentioned if you walk into a few mines in grass, it's gonna knock you across the screen. I wonder if they were exaggerating, because if the knockbacks like stacks with multiple mines, it's great.
It will.
But
and they said it would be when you get the 8 mine talent. Like, so if all 8 hit them, they're gonna go.
See, that's really cool.
Interesting.
I mean, I like that, but I still think that the cooldown on the Z is kind of long.
Yeah. I think that the range thing it's cool. I think they missed the mark with repurposing Hammer. I don't know. She's still, in my opinion, still not good enough in team fights. They need to give us a reason to siege in team fights and have your team synergy built around that. It's still not there, and I think it's not enough.
You want splash? Is that what you're saying?
No, it already has splash.
But like
I want some kind of bonus damage, like some kind of incentive to go into siege mode. Something that makes her scary when she's sieged up in a team fight.
Yeah, because you can't really.
She's not scary.
Yeah, you can't expect the splash to actually make any real difference in a team fight. The radius is too small. The damage isn't that noticeable. Like, you'd much rather have the mobility, because survivability and just make sure you hit the right target and stuff.
Right. So if she's really strong when she's in siege mode in team fights, then that's fine. You're giving up a good trade to actually do some real heavy damage that people are scared of. But that's not there right now. And these changes, they're cool, but they don't change any of that. And she's still going to be like a really weak pusher and a really bad team fighter, in my opinion. But
Question.
We'll see.
If you have the increased range, like all the the make siege mode as far as possible, and your max range pushing like a tower or something, does that put you out of range of napalm strike?
Oh, we lost Idra.
What do you mean?
Like napalm strike, if sometimes when people are pushing a tower,
yes, okay,
you can use napalm strike on the tower.
Yeah.
If you have the extra range for siege mode, does that put napalm strike out of range of the tower?
No, I don't think so. It doesn't affect the range of the napalm, if that's what you're asking. I think maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, so if you're shooting from farther away and napalm strike's range isn't far.
No, it'll still reach. If you're hitting max range from siege mode, your napalm strike will still hit the tower. If that's what you're asking.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, are you sure or are you pretty sure?
I'm pretty sure.
What's the range on napalm?
What's the question? I'm sorry, what's the question?
The question is, if you're at max range for your talents, for siege, if you're sieged up and at max range after level 13 or whatever the max range is, can you still hit with, we're talking base napalm strike at max range? I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Do you follow the question? So it's a little bit of a weird question.
Yes, you can.
I'm pretty sure you can, right? Okay.
Yes. It's the napalm strike is like half a range for some strange reason, less.
Hey Greg, how's the storm going?
Welcome back.
Hello. My cat actually stepped on my power button.
Oh.
Oh man, I was gonna make a great joke. I was gonna say, you really got through that storm, man. You must be the hero.
Was it Hobbs or the other one?
I was waiting for that terrible fun.
Them SSDs, everyone buy SSDs so you can get back into your Windows fast.
Yeah, he got back in quick.
Yeah, that was quick.
That was super fast. He was gone like less than 2 minutes. That was impressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm disappointed overall with the hammer changes.
I mean,
Oh well.
I don't think her other builds, the one that everyone are currently running, needed to be tweaked. I think her damage is fine, and like when she's like played the right way as of right now, I'm glad they're taking more of a focus on Sergeant Hammer or on their siege mode. But
I'm glad they're tweaking heroes in general. I mean, they're trying stuff. I'm glad they're not nerfing people, rather buffing people, because that was my big concern with all these changes today. I was like, if they scale people down to match some of the crappier heroes, I'm going to be really upset. It's going to make the game less fun. So if they're scaling people up to match the people that are like, you know, like Raynor is kind of at a decent point. Like if they use Raynor or like Kerrigan as the point in which everyone should be scaled, that's great.
I still think they should be more. They should be more extreme though. They need it's alpha. They need to be making more extreme changes to some heroes.
Let's talk about the more extreme change to a hero.
Wait. I think. Hold on. Let's talk about Sergeant Hammer just for 1 second more. I think they're not really changing the whole kit of Sergeant Hammer so that we have to go this way. It's now you can go with the trait and go with the attack range buff, or you can go with things that synergize with going up in siege mode, like getting hover,
giving you more options.
They're just making that other option as enticing as going for the auto attack range, because as Zoya just said, there's the right way to play Sergeant Hammer right now, which means that there's a wrong way to play her, which is everything else, and that's all they're doing is just making it equal.
They're giving you more options, which is what they need to be doing.
Right. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Corey, you've always hated Hammer, Corey. Get over it. You're like Kevin's Leland,
because
okay?
he had
I don't like Hammer.
So much hope for Hammer.
Yeah, I really like Hammer.
He was so disappointed. Like, I remember the first week of the game, he's like, Hammer's great. I love Hammer. Oh, this is the best. And then a week later, he's like, Hammer sucks. I can't stand this woman. And then her voice changed, and he's like, oh my god, get this voice off this game right now. Like,
that was probably the nail in the coffin was when they changed the voice actor.
It's funny because you gave him a southern accent, which was like, if Hammer's... I don't know.
Oh god. Yeah, I don't know.
Illidan. Complete rework. Looks awesome.
Keeps his heroic at level 20. Keeps in the mode. You can put a horse under him. But
apparently it's scaled down, so the ultimate is not nearly what it was. So like him staying in Metamorphosis all the time is not going to be as broken as it sounds at first look.
Now, does it still work the same way, where you get more health based on how many enemies you hit?
I don't know.
That's what I saw someone say. I couldn't actually hear while I was watching the podcast, watching the cast. So. But yeah, someone said it was really, really drastically scaled down, like from thousands to 400 per hero or something.
Oh, okay. So he's no longer the tank assassin then.
He's very mobile now.
Sorry,
He's very low cooldown on his hero dive. The flip now is his baseline on his Q, so you just kind of Q something and you flip. The trait, his passive, is auto attacks decrease the cooldown of his abilities by 1 second, and then lifesteal, which is really neat. Good news for Dunk Train is the level 20 Metamorphosis or a Hunt upgrade is global, so whenever he's sniping Greg, he can do that from anywhere on the map.
Increased acceleration while you're doing it too.
Yeah, how about that?
It's pretty awesome.
Take that, physics.
Like I guess we should have seen this coming. I mean, he was the only hero without ult upgrades, so we should have seen a rework coming. Although this doesn't really feel like when I hear rework, I hear like a complete change to everything. This is more of like this isn't a rework. It's like they changed.
It's a pretty big rework because now he's got an ability to dodge damage, evasion, which is awesome. And then he's got this awesome ability where they took like half his other abilities and merged into one, and then now his metamorphosis and everything else kind of works a lot better for him. So it sounds like it's a pretty big rework.
And he's inspired by Legolas, so
yeah,
forget about that.
Dancing around in the river.
The main bad lad of Warcraft 3 is now inspired by one of the heroes of Lord of the Rings.
Well, they're technically both elves. Okay, sir? So,
damn, that knowledge.
Boom.
There we go.
Very upset.
Lore. I mean, do you guys think he's going to be, like, I mean, it does look like it's more sustained. Did anyone actually hear how much more lifesteal it gains on the trait?
I heard 20%. I have no idea if that's accurate. I don't know why that's coming to mind. I think 20% is like the generic lifesteal in the game. That seems to be what it goes to. Unless it's like a weird talent.
Basic do you think healing for 20% damage down? It says right here. on Heroes Nexus.
Okay, well, that makes it much better. I mean, Idra said something from like week 1 that's like always just been in my head is Illidan's useless pre-10, and maybe this change will make him more of a bully in lane.
That is something that they definitely need to work on.
I don't know about that. He's still such a paperweight early on. He's like Zeratul without the elusiveness. You just can't stand and fight anything. There's no way. Well, I guess he does have the 2 mobility spells now.
Yeah, the mobility is going to allow him to get in and get out. So I think this will help him a lot because, I mean, they don't want him sneaking around because that's how Zeratul plays. Because otherwise he is just a Zeratul clone. But this way he's just high mobility. And it looks like he's really just... He can dash through lanes more than anyone else. And get away, get in, do whatever. I don't know. I'm pretty pumped because this is very unique as an assassin because no one has that much mobility and that much speed to just gun you down. Like Falstad, I'm going to fly over this little wall and get out of your way. Nope, he's going to kill you.
And Metamorphosis plus his damage plus the attack speed buff. Like he's not like a Zeratul where he has to show up and burst you down and get out. He has that mobility plus he has the ability to really just stand and fight pretty much anyone in the game and pretty much just like flat out kill any squishy in the game. So that's actually, I don't know, I thought he was a weird choice for a rework because I felt like he was in a pretty good place to begin with. I really enjoyed playing him. I thought he was pretty balanced and whatnot. But it definitely feels like they kept the flavor of the hero and made him, I don't know, more active. They kind of balanced him out a bit. He's not nearly so much, he's really incredibly powerful when he's in his heroic and he's pretty much useless when he's not. So he's going to have a lot more uptime, which is more fun to play. I'm really interested to play him.
I agree.
And coincidentally, he's going to have a lot of uptime as his heroic at level 20 when it becomes until he dies.
Oh my god.
Does the cooldown, like what happens with the cooldown there? Does it go on cooldown after 15 seconds or when he dies?
It has to be when he dies. It has to. Otherwise, it's broken. Like, yeah, let's
die, come back. Hey, I'm Metamorphosis again. Dies, come back. Hey, I'm Metamorphosis again.
That's a good point.
With Resurgence on top of it. Oh no, no, you couldn't. It's on the same tier. Yeah. That'd be silly.
Good news, guys. Good news, guys. Illidan also gets Murky's trait, so every time he dies, he comes back in 5 seconds, and he's Metamorphosis. So good luck.
Good luck.
Now, what's his third active now? Because I know he has the one that's like his lunge plus mark, like he lunges and roots, and then he was the one that's like basically a blink.
I think it's just his W. It's just a standard W, which is the AOE cone in front of him. Yeah. Because I mean, they didn't announce it at all, so I'd assume it stays the same.
Yeah. I saw like the icons they were showing on the interface. They didn't have the crescent strike icon in there, so I'm not sure. That's why I was wondering.
They were they didn't talk about everything, which is kind of sad.
It's true, nice. But you're right about the icons.
Because that, like, if you did that on a marked hero, that was one of only 2 silences in the game, which is pretty big because people escaping from you, like, if they can't use their escape ability, you get an extra 3 hits in there as Illidan, that's enough to kill them half the time.
Yeah.
So not having a silence anymore would be interesting.
Oh yeah, Betrayer Strike is the one for W now.
Well, he definitely doesn't have the marks anymore because that was his passive.
Yeah.
So that icon meant something else.
I don't know. I kind of hope they didn't remove the silence because, like you said, that's kind of made him unique and one of 2 silences in the game. So that kind of gone, that removes it to 1 silence, which makes Malfurion. I mean, I won't say it makes him even better, but I mean, I like silences. They add an interesting thing to the game design.
The silences aren't quite so important for the new Illidan though, because before the only downside to him was sticking to targets, so disabling their escapes was pretty important. Now he has the second mobility spell. Plus, I think they said they lowered the cooldown on his lunge. I don't know, they were emphasizing how low cooldown it was, so it seems like he has less mobility problems now. So maybe they felt like it would be overkill if you could hold someone in place and...
The lunge is his Q, right? Dive?
Well, lunge was his E.
Lunge was E,
I think
now it's Q.
Now. Yeah, now it's Q, so it's just called dive. 6-second cooldown.
So the question is what W became.
That's what flip.
And it's possible that they just took the Betrayer Strike icon because that is kind of more of a crescent. Oh no, it's like circular. And made that crescent strike now. Who knows?
Is dive hero targeted or skill shot? Because I know it like has the flip and rip built into it now. So you target
that's a skill shot.
It is a skill shot.
It looks
you can cast it whenever.
targeted.
Ew.
Lunge was a skill shot, but I don't know.
Lunge was a skill shot. I think dive might be targeted.
E is his evasion. That's 1.5 seconds to just dodge everything.
Okay.
Wait, he's just like passive evasion.
Yeah,
it's just 1.5 seconds. You dodge everything. Yeah, you just
1.5 seconds after what?
It's an activate. 15 second.
Blocks autos for 1.5 seconds.
So then he doesn't have President Strike anymore. Then so he has his 2 mobility and then he has the evasion.
Yeah,
that's
looks like
no more Crescent Strike.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, we've been going on for 52 minutes. We need to take a quick break, guys. We still got a decent amount to talk about. We got Kubi's questions coming up. We can touch on a bunch of the UI changes. Don't want to dive too much into it. And then we got the Falstad discussion. So when we get back, guys, Town Hall episode 14 will continue. See you guys for just a quick break. Oh my god, we're back and Greg's mic's going insane. Oh. Guys, welcome back to Town Hall, episode 14. We just spent a long time talking about the new hero changes. Before we move into Kubi's questions, is there anything else the UI got reworked? It looked great.
Let's just talk about that real quick.
All right, let's talk about the UI. I think it looks great. At first I was kind of like, ew, that minimap looks weird, and then after I stared at it for like 30 seconds, it just became like, oh.
It's like if you had like a 1990s arena of like, I don't know, revamped gladiators or something like that. It's like very like sports showy kind of in a way.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Because like the thing that always kind of bugged me was that on on Dota, on League of Legends, it's always like, oh, we are still in the fantasy. Your UI is a wall, and here's some vines that grow over it. And this is like, yeah, you're in an arena, you're gonna go kill some people, which is great because you're kind of mixing like future technology, StarCraft 2 stuff to the fantasy area as well.
Wow.
I don't know. But anybody else have any other points?
The UI talent changes were really cool, and apparently they've added hotkeys to it, so you can like hit Control 1, and you'll pick the first talent in that list.
That's always existed, but they've actually made it like visible now. But you can do that right now if you control. Yeah, you can do that now. But
I thought it was alt now.
Oh, maybe it was alt. I just know you can do it.
I've always manually clicked it. I didn't know this.
It's just I usually click it anyways, but you can do it. But yeah, it's nice that they're actually making it easier to understand in that sense. They seem to be going with this this hexagon thing with everything. I mean, we got that in the menu now. We got hexagons and all the abilities. I mean, okay, that's their style. I like it. I can dig it. It's a lot better than the old UI, that's for sure. I mean, I don't know. I just think, thank God we have a timer. That's my big thing I want to say though.
There was a timer? I did not see that.
Top center. Thank frickin' God, we now have a game timer.
That's very nice.
In the game. That
is fair.
That's like the biggest improvement, I would say. And it's nice having the Grave Golem skulls at the bottom right with the map. It's kind of cool. And same thing with other maps. We can let's see. My browser window is kind of off. There we go. It's a little bit easier to see.
We didn't get to see any of it. Haunted Mines got a redesign. They made the top better.
Yeah,
Underground's still the same. We didn't get to see anything, but
they
said they added watchtowers. Yeah, they said added watchtowers, made it flow better. I don't know. They really didn't get to see much, but cool. Yeah. Haunted Mines is definitely one of the most stale maps, in my opinion. So I'm kind of the guy they're fixing, trying to change it. They did say that they will eventually add more talents per level, and then I think Richard Koo tweeted at me saying that they will eventually have it to where you pick what talents you want outside a game for you to choose in-game. So like you'll eventually maybe have 10 talents per tier, but you choose 4 of them to bring in-game. And stuff like that. That adds a little bit more customization.
Yeah, they mentioned that at BlizzCon, and that's how they originally said the game was going to work. They said you were going to build a deck for you're going to have like a deck of like you make 3 choices, and then once you're in the game, you're restricted to those straight 3. So obviously, if there's 10 choices, putting that on your screen is a burden. Like you don't want that. That sounds awful. But at the same time, like then it almost adds strategy. Like, okay, I'm restricted to these 3 or 4 options. Win them in the game, so you have to commit to that prior to the match. So I think that actually adds depth to the game because
for sure
you have to pre-plan your build with your team. So I think if they do get to the point where there are 10 talents in one category, that's really, really good because they're adding that much more diversity to the game and then that much more strategy going into the match. So
here's the only thing I'm scared about with that. Either you have to spend gold or some sort of influence points to unlock more talents.
Yeah, who cares, man?
No.
Who cares?
That's what I'd be scared of.
No, that's getting towards pay to win. I don't think they'll go down that road.
I agree.
I mean, it's just at right now they've got the level 8 until you unlock all the other talents. I'm just saying, there's a possibility that could happen. I
then what else
really hope it's not going to happen.
They have a void of level 8 to 40 right now where nothing happens. They can fill those other talents.
It's true. This is true.
But then you have to be level 40 to get all of your talents? I mean, already in League of Legends, when you have runes and you have to wait until level 20 before you can even think about buying runes.
But is that bad game design? Because I'm the kind of guy where progressing and getting new things is very appealing, and as long as it's not as long as it doesn't make it so that you're weaker, because runes effectively makes your character weaker. I think they can do it in a way, because if you don't have runes, if you're lacking runes, and you're a level 1 League of Legends player, you're weaker than a max level character. Yes, I don't play League, but I understand that correctly, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever going to be like that. I mean, they can still like add features like you unlock like. Maybe, what if they make it so that you unlock the ability to have 4 options in the game instead of 3? You start with 3, and then at level 20 you get your 4th option.
Okay, yeah, that would be fine.
See, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what we're talking about. The extra
I'm thinking like out of your 10 that are outside the game deck, you only have 5 that are available, and you either have to purchase them with gold, or you have to keep playing until 40 to unlock the other 10 per level. Then I'd be a little bit hesitant because I want to have all those options immediately. I don't want to have to wait, especially with runes. I mean, you have to buy
comparing
runes.
That to runes is like
no. How is that at all?
It is pretty similar. It is pretty similar.
It's incredibly similar.
I mean, it's already at level 8. You have to unlock new talents, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again, but it can't be more than like level 16, because you can hit 16 in a weekend. It's really not hard. So if you can hit level 16 to 20 in a couple days, I don't think it's that big of a problem. But if it's going to take you a month or of playing the game, like maybe a couple hours every other day or something, and you don't have all the talents, then that's kind of bad. That's really not good.
So I mean, this is why I bring up the point, is something like League of Legends. If you don't have enough IP to buy all those runes, you literally can't even play like an ADC or a top laner competent, or it doesn't matter how good you are. You will not win against somebody who's got the right runes. Like if you have a Jax with hybrid pen or something like that, and you're going against and you don't have those, you're not going to win. And that's what I'm scared of. That's all. I just wanted to air it out that I really.
You're only upset about that because you've never once been level 40, Kevin. Just throwing it out there. Play the damn game more.
I'm level like 39 right now. So there.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I agree with you guys. I mean, we'll have to see what their plans are with it.
I think the biggest problem is that they're looking to really expand the talent pool and have more and more, like whether they do that or not, they've said they've considered adding up to 5 or 6 talent choices per level. And I think that's kind of the wrong way to go because there's already so many talents, there's throwaway options. Like obviously you have 2 options max, maybe. And the 3rd and 4th are just there for idiots to pick and like to laugh about. And I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to actually come up with that many talents that are all going to be viable different options. I think they should be looking more at what they already have, make it more powerful, and make the lesser options like more viable. Like give you more different options to choose from. Like instead of just having 10 talents, all of them slightly different, maybe a couple of interesting little ideas in there that work every once in a while, and then one that you're going to get pretty much over time. It's much, much, much better to have 3 or 4, all of which have very common, very powerful uses and actually make big differences. Because, like, I mean, I don't know. I think maybe they're trying to deal with the fact that a lot of people think it's bad that they don't have items, and they're trying to add more diversity into the game. But you don't really have every item to choose from at any point in League or Dota. You have a couple of ones that will actually work for the given game situation, and like there's no reason to have any more than that. You just need to have an important decision to make instead of a decision that has a lot of choices that aren't actually viable. So I'm worried that they're trying to go for a lot instead of getting a few quality choices.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I'm always going to favor more balance over more options.
I just can't imagine having 5 or 6 options that are viable when we already don't have more than 2 per level.
Yeah, the game would have to look very different from what it is now to have that even be an option. But
that's a good point.
That's a really
the only thing that I looked at in these patch notes and went, "What? I don't know if I like that," was the bounty system. I'm kind of leaning away from that.
We don't know anything about it though.
Yeah.
I mean, it scared me. I'm scared. I admit I am scared. It could be really good, but if it's something like if somebody's on a killing spree, like somebody's 5-0 against your team, and you kill him, and for some reason you get double experience on that kill, I don't like that. That's what I'm worried about because it's a team experience. Like, yeah, I don't like that. If that's what it is, if it just says like, you know, bounty. Blah, blah, blah,
I mean, I guess it's good.
Says it on the screen. If it's just like in it, like a something that's kind of cool to flash on the screen and like make you feel good about yourself, like you avenged your team or something, and it's just
post-game experience,
or that. I mean,
it's tacking into that. That's
great,
fine.
great. But if it changes, no. If that almost like takes away from somebody having good play. It's like by saying this guy was playing better, the enemy team benefits more because they finally killed him. Like,
I mean, it's kind of a comeback mechanic, and they already have that built into the game.
Right.
This is just something you can actually control that actually makes sense. Like, if they were to take out or marginalize the comeback mechanic in terms of experience they already have, we don't know exactly how it works, but just take that out, whatever it is, and then substitute this in, because that's how it works in League and Dota. You get, like, if you kill someone who's on a kill streak, you get more gold for it. And I think it works, and experience as well.
Yeah.
I didn't know
like you get more experience for killing a higher level opponent and stuff. I think there's nothing wrong with implementing that as long as they do it well, because it's something you can control. Like if you know there's a high priority target, then you try and kill them. And it kind of makes sense because if someone's killing you a lot, you're going to try and kill them anyway, so it just flows along with that. And comebacks are important to them. They've shown that they're willing to protect that, so this is just an interesting way to implement it.
Oh, I'm worried that I don't know. I see it working in a good way. Like if your bottom lane happens to be feeding, like just because they're not as good or because of a few mistakes, like you can from a solo queue perspective, if you're good, like you can somehow control take them down or something. It can give your team a fighting chance again. I just hope it's not too strong. I just don't want comebacks to be that easy. You need comebacks should be possible. It makes the games more exciting. You never want to be like, well, this game's done, I'm just going to AFK in base. I like the idea of comebacks. I just hope it's not too big of a comeback.
So how I understood the mechanic was that you have a personal bounty on people. So it's like Team Fortress 2, whereas if I kill Jake 5 times or 4 times, I forget what the exact number is, a grudge starts between the 2 of us.
I don't think that's how it's working.
I would really hope if it was, because that would be a really interesting mechanic. Like, you would just a small boost or something like that, as long as you partake in the takedown of that hero, That would be awesome.
I think that leads to like
it's
bad
like it's
things. Like,
arcadey, and I mean this is a very arcade casual
That's
kind of
bad,
thing.
though.
You'd be
What
like,
happens if it happens to a
oh man,
Diablo?
Idra killed me 3 times. Time to go take out Idra.
That's terrible though. What happens if it happens like on a Diablo or
Well,
an ETC, where you shouldn't be focus firing them in a team fight? You're gonna have bad players like, oh look at this bounty, let's focus fire Diablo instead of a demon hunter and a Falstad. That's a terrible mechanic. That would ruin solo queue. That would just make the tunnel vision people tunnel vision harder on things they shouldn't be.
Or maybe you're like, hey, now we have to take out ETC for our whole entire group to get a massive XP bonus. Because this guy's been taken out like 8 times by him.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah, the bounties in general can be applied in a way that I think they're okay for the game, but the like one-on-one thing is like contrived and weird.
But then
that
what's
like a game
the
like
point?
League,
Just somebody who's just got a lot of kills is gonna be worth more than somebody who hasn't?
Yeah.
That's what I implied.
Yeah, I think I'd be okay with that. But,
I think
it's kind of
I want to like focus fire somebody because somebody's been killing me a lot. I think that's more fun.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, just less personal. It's like you're focusing them because they killed your team a lot in a row without dying, instead of they killed you a lot.
I think bounty like throws like people's minds off a bit. I don't think there's actually going to be like a target pops up on their head or they're a bounty. I think it's just kind of like, you know, in League of Legends, this person's on a killing spree, and then when you kill them, it's like you warranted this much extra gold for killing him. I think that's kind of how it's going to play out. I don't think it's going to be actual like kill this guy. Like the announcer's going to go, Diablo is now wanted. I don't think anything like that's going to happen.
I mean, this exists in both League and Dota, and like.
Okay, hold on. Wait. Let's stop all discussion. I was just corrected. It's meta rewards. Bounties are meta rewards.
Wait, really?
Yes. What do you mean by meta reward?
Okay. Well, that is
like
really it's like outside of the game.
Or a medal or something. Yeah, outside the game.
Okay. Or
that's
outside EXP.
End of discussion. I don't care anymore. Whatever.
There we go.
Okay. Well, let's go on to Kubi's questions. Take it away, Kubi. Or actually, no, graphic time.
Yeah, I want to see the graphic first in action.
So you have to introduce the segment and hype it up.
Okay.
All right. You guys are ready?
Damn,
for
you dropped that
questions.
ball. You dropped that ball so hard, it's ridiculous.
I'm sorry. I'll start it over. All right, guys, it's time for everyone's favorite segment on the show, Kubi's questions.
All right, that was.
How was that hype?
Better,
was that better, Jake?
Much better.
Okay.
Yeah. No whistleblowing, but that's okay. We'll live.
Yeah.
I don't have.
All right.
Kubi, what do we got?
Today we're talking about.
High school truck came back for Kubi's question.
No, please, no. All right. We're talking about Cursed Hollow today, and I've got another scenario. This one's kind of interesting from the defensive standpoint. All right, so first 2 team fights on Cursed Hollow have not gone well. You've lost both of them, so you're down 0-2. Okay, so the third one's popping up, and you're fighting against a Wombo combo team, which for those of you guys who don't know, typically like a Zero Tool, initiates Void Prison and then just bursts the whole team down. So they're at level 10, you're at level 9. And you have to make the decision how to really make a comeback in the game.
AFK in base until the game's over.
All right, well that's part of the question. All right, so let's assume we're in a tournament here. Team captain says, okay, we're not fighting this tribute, so we're just going to let them take the curse. What can we do to mitigate the amount of damage that they do in this curse? And the team captain suggests we send one person down to the curse to harass the team as long as possible. Maybe a Zero Tool, is just trying to delay the channel and the curse as long as possible, blinking in, whatever. And then the rest of the team goes back up to, let's say, the Golem, and the Knights takes the Knights and Golem while they're dealing with that and tries to create a distraction to minimize the amount of damage done during the curse. First question, good or a bad idea to abandon that tribute at the level deficit that you're at?
I mean, especially with the new curse change coming in, I don't think it's live yet. So I think next patch, I think they're making it to where, what was it, like towers aren't at half health, so it's definitely going to be easier to defend. Usually after the second tribute, people tend to do Knights. Sometimes after the first tribute, so usually Knights will actually be on, like they won't be up.
Okay.
I don't know. It's very situational. I mean, I guess you could try pushing a bit, but. I mean, usually if you're down like that much for the third tribute, it's very hard to make a comeback. Like, if you're losing the fights that one-sidedly, like after the first
let's not
tributes,
say they're super one-sided because you're only down. Let's say you're just down like a half level, but it's been enough where like you guys have been taking smart engagement and say, okay, we're not going to take this tribute. Let's not die a bunch, fall really far behind. But it's enough that because they have all their heroics, it doesn't make sense to engage them there. So basically, do you guys feel that the map is so imbalanced right now that you have to take the fight, try to turn it around? If you don't, well, you may as well GG. Yes,
I think no. Actually, I've been running into that situation a lot, and whenever we have knights pushing mid, we never lose that fort if they don't like 5-man it. And if you have like a strong merc camp going one of those lanes, you don't have to worry about it unless they have an equally strong merc camp going down that lane as well. So if it's both knights, then yeah, you'll lose it. But I think actually the knights versus knights fight will delay it long enough that it might mitigate the damage long enough. So actually, I think sending one person... I would not send anybody down there because that could just be a free kill. I don't trust many people to go... Even against... Because in Heroes, you have a lot of CC and you have a lot of displacement.
Yeah, that's true.
One misstep, you're going to get taken out pretty quickly. So I wouldn't trust that person to go down there and not die because they're going to be going against a 5-man possibly. And even then... if the other team is seeing like you move around the map, which is something that has to be done with these people who play Heroes of the Storm, is like they will run through vision towers, be like, yeah guys, let's go get Grave Golem. Let's all go run through vision tower. They have no idea where we're going. Yeah. And then they get surprised when they get caught. Or they'll run through a creep wave or something like that. It's like, we know where you are now. Anyway. If you run into those situations, I think it's best just to have everybody with you at once. And if they 5-man a lane, try and 5-man that lane as well. If you have a merc pushing the other two lanes, you're going to be fine. I think it mitigates a lot of the damage of the curse.
Greg, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, in that specific situation, since you're only a half level down. I mean, I know this is still hypothetical, but if you are only a half level down, I think it obviously depends on the composition. But I think more often than not, it's going to be best to send 3 or 4 people to delay the curse as long as possible without dying and get the half level of experience in another lane, because like that's obtainable. That's close enough that you can get your heroics. You're going to be on the same level as them, and then you can team fight. And if you have the option to do an even 5v5, and you give that up to give them curse, that's too much. But assuming, like, more of the spirit of the question, they're going to win a team fight if you take it. Obviously, it's not worth it, like, sacrificing yourself for suiciding just for the off chance that something goes silly and you can actually get the curse. In that situation, then, yeah, like everyone said, you get the mercs posting down the lanes to prevent yourself from losing force to just minions, and then you 5-man against them. The other option is if you're really, really scared about fighting them, like you still don't have your heroics and they do, and they hit that big wombo combo and you know they're just going to obliterate you in a fight, you can get your knights going and you can 5-man with that and you can push, and they either have to come back and defend, and they're not likely going to get anything off the first, so they're not going to do damage to you, or they're going to, or they're just going to push, but you're also going to push, and like the curse, without the curse, you're not going to push as quickly, but if you get a fort and they get a fort, or even if you get a fort and they get 2 forts, given that you lost the curse, that's not the biggest of deals. So I think the biggest takeaway is just do not suicide to try and win a lost fight, especially for the curse. So many people do that. They just like tunnel vision on the objectives. I don't know, it's just, that's probably one of the most frustrating things about playing solo queue, especially for less important objectives like the Dragon Knight. People are like, the worst thing.
Okay, all right. So let's say you guys decide not worth going after this, and let's assume for whatever reason that the mercenary camps aren't available. You can't take them for whatever reason. Do you guys feel as though it's best to roam as a 5-team, or to try to? Well, I guess it kind of depends on what they're doing. Let's assume that they split up. They try to split push 2 lanes. Do you guys feel it's best to roam as a 5 group to try and gank those split lanes, or do you guys think that you should split your team up as well just to slow them down?
With the lack of with the minions being less, like your minions being 1 HP and towers not shooting, and them having the level lead obviously, and them having minions that are full HP, it's very, like, you won't win like a 3v3 situation or a 2v3 situation, like with all your minions like just dying instantly, not having towers to help you. You have to, I think in that situation you have to roam either as like a 4 or 5 stack. Like, I think you'll just lose every team fight and just increase their lead. I think you just need to, like, if they have 3 top, 2 bottom, you go shut down top, and then you try and push that wave out a bit. as 4 or 5 people. Maybe like just 4 people and leave 1 middle.
I actually disagree with that, because if you're running somewhere as 5, even if you get the hero kills, and that's assuming they don't see you coming and they don't have a way to escape it, then the other lanes are still going to push in, and because you're under the curse, they're almost definitely going to get forwards, if not keeps, for that. And the other thing is, as you're 5-manning and they're split out, their level advantage just keeps growing because they're getting more experience, they're getting triple experience, and you're getting 1, maybe 2 lanes of experience. And you're already at a disadvantage, so that's just growing and growing. I think it's much better to split up all 3 lanes, clear that out, try and just prevent them from pushing in too hard, because if they're spread out, if they're not all 5, then it's very hard for them to force a fight as long as you're careful. Like, you sit behind your walls, you're not looking to fight, you're not looking to take a 3-on-3, but just fight a delaying action, try and get that experience and wait out the curse. I think is the better way to go about that.
Okay. Interesting to hear the diversity. Jake, you have any thoughts on this? Any of these questions?
I mean, I pretty much agreed with Idra most of the time, I think. But, yeah, I think we dragged this out, so it's good. It's hard with 5 people. It's going to be a lot of overlap.
Okay, that's fine. I think that's all I have. You guys answered most of my questions, so good stuff.
Right on. Good question this week, Kubi. Always good. Always good.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about Falstad? We've been going for a while. I think Falstad will take a while. I mean, if everyone's down to go a little bit longer, we can dive into Falstad.
And that is why Greg's here.
Your
so.
call. I mean, Greg, you play a lot of Falstad, right?
Yeah, we'll leave this up to Greg. How tired are you? Do you feel like talking about Falstad? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's go into Falstad. Long show tonight.
Okay.
Falstad.
Let's talk about Falstad then. Jake, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and go over the abilities real quick, just so people in chat don't know Falstad at all?
So his first ability is called Fat Griffin, and he has this big fat griffin. Yeah, that griffin needs a diet. All right. No, Kev reads him. Kev, go. I'll read
lazy mode.
Hammerang. Throw a hammer, slowing the target, damaging enemies in a line. Hammerang returns after throw.
Are you not using the videos?
Oh, I forgot we had those.
God, I worked so hard on those.
This is so much work, man.
Fine.
Wow.
Viewers won't get to see how Hammerang works.
No.
Look at that guy.
Viewers will know.
I'll do the abilities, and you can do.
Look at this buffer. Great. Rip YouTube. Set production value.
So Falstad's trait initially is Tailwind. His combat trait is not after taking damage for 6 seconds. Falstad gains 20% increased move speed. This is not something that's within combat for 6 seconds. It's not taking damage. So if you're chasing somebody down, after 6 seconds, if they don't hit you, you will be able to catch up to them and do damage.
So just like Muradin's.
His initial ability, Q, is Hammerang. Deals 50 damage, plus 12 per level. Damage to enemies in a line, slowing them for 25% for 2 seconds. It returns after throw, so it will do double damage if somebody's stuck on both the outwards and return. His other ability, his W, has a passive tied to it. It deals 40 damage plus 12 per level to random nearby enemies every 8 seconds. And his active is it deals 40 plus 12 damage up to 4 nearby enemies over a short duration, it seems to be. But they don't actually specify it. Hitting the same enemy multiple times causes the damage to be reduced 25% each hit. And then his escape is barrel roll on his E. It's got a cooldown of 16 seconds, but he dashes to an area and gains a 75 shield for 2 seconds. His 2 heroic abilities are Aerial Blitzkrieg, in which he deals 150 damage to all enemies near Falstad, stunning non-structured targets for 1.5 seconds. Got a short channel ability before that. And then his other one is Shock and Awe, another large wind-up, and he deals 280 damage to enemies within the targeted area. It's a very large line that goes in front of him. So it's akin to Lux's Laser from League of Legends, or a very large death ray from Death Star.
Death Star.
Just one pro tip, because a lot of newer players don't seem to know that you can actually use barrel roll to go through lanes. You can't go through
if the videos were working, you would see that, Jake.
Hey,
Jake.
Blame YouTube. Don't blame me.
Oh, snap.
A fun thing to know is that if you tap Z or R twice, you can do a barrel roll.
I hate you.
That's actually false. That's incredibly false. But guys, you're becoming more like your father every day.
Shut up.
Please.
These Star Fox references, man. They're too strong.
Can't let you do that, Star Fox.
So we can watch Jared's little 2-second videos.
Yeah, they're pretty great, man.
Woo! Goes through walls.
Yeah, man. You know how long those videos took to make today? 19 minutes. I timed myself. I worked so hard.
19 minutes.
I worked so hard. So I just want to throw it to Greg. Greg, what are your current thoughts on Falstad as a hero? Where does he rank amongst the ranged carries? And I mean, just what are your thoughts on him overall?
I think all of them are really, really good, which kind of takes away from him a bit because he would be top tier, except then you think his comparison is Val and Raynor. Raynor may be one of the most overpowered or strongest heroes in the game right now, and Val is right up there as well. So they're all very, very good. He has his place. He has some mobility early on, which is really nice, but not as nice as I actually thought it would be early on, just because laning breaks down so quickly. The opportunity, except on Dragon Knight. On Dragon Knight's amazing. But usually you're going to be 5-man for objectives, so being able to fly in, it's good. It lets you get a little bit more experience and then join your team without costing them, but you can't turn around a fight that was 2-on-2 and make it 3-on-2. Those situations aren't as prevalent as you'd expect coming in from another game. But that's really good. And he also has more burst damage. He's a bit more of a hybrid caster right-clicker than the others. And so that burst damage early on, if you isolate someone, you get all 4 hits from your W off on them, and if you get both ends of the Q bounce, it's just stupid amounts of damage. So he has a little bit more kill potential early on, and then later he becomes just kind of your normal elusive auto attack carry, and he's very good at it. His damage actually scales quite a bit better than Val is, and almost as well as Zeratul. So a lot of people underestimate his right-click damage. So he's really, really good. I think the most interesting thing to talk about right now is there's a large number of people who consider him more of a caster, and they get rewind and overdrive and whatnot on him, focus more on that instead of auto attacking. And I think that's kind of interesting. I think they're wrong, but I think it's a point of discussion, at least. I just don't think he has the mana pool, really, to support it. And also, his W and Q burst, while it's really, really big, it's hard to control, because the W procs are... I'm not sure how random they are, but it's very hard to get them all on a single target. And getting the Q bounces all to line up, obviously, is not always going to work out in your favor. So I don't think it's really worth talenting for it. I think they're just innately good. You take advantage of them when you can. And then the talents are better spent towards auto-attacking, except for sometimes trying to kill it. If the enemy team doesn't have a ton of HP, then you might as well get overdrive just because it makes Shotgun off so much more powerful. It's so much damage, and then you put an extra 25% on top of that. That's the other thing. Shotgun got so much better. It actually got a ninja buff in a recent patch where you can't see the charge up anymore on the enemy team, so you can't dodge it. You don't know it's coming. So it's actually really easy to pick people off with it now.
Yeah, sometimes I confuse it with his auto attack animation. They look pretty much sisimilar. I noticed that, but I wasn't sure if they changed it. That's cool.
It's great. I'm really happy that they fixed that.
I don't know if that's a fix. That's just a change they made, but it's one that definitely made it way more powerful.
Yeah. It was it's almost the same exact fix that they need for Arthas' Sindragosa, because it's one of those things where everybody just immediately goes, oh look, he's gonna be hitting in that direction, facing that angle. Everybody walk away very slowly. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna double click back in. Nah, you know what? I'm
maybe not.
It's you can make a couple of decisions of just maybe I'll get hit by him.
No, I think Sindragosa needs more help than that, but that would help with it.
Yeah.
I have a question. So his W, the passive on it, how big of a deal is that? When in lane phase, of course, it's not as big because it can hit any of the creep or anything. But in a 1v1 situation, in the middle of the map, how noticeable do you see? Just not even the use of it, just the natural passive it has. How big of a deal does that make in a 1v1?
Oh, the passive isn't that huge. The passive is biggest because it's an instant dismount if you get within range of someone. Yeah. That's actually the biggest deal. But the active is absolutely gigantic. I think it's the biggest nuke in the game if you can isolate someone at early levels. I think it's bigger than a snipe. I went through the numbers at one point. If not, it's at least on the same scale of that. So if you get a one-on-one fight against someone, you're probably going to win it early on. Especially if they're a squishy, you'll just blow them up. So many Valas and Novas and whatnot underestimate your burst damage just because people they're not aware of how the W actually works or something. It's, I think, the most underrated aspect of him as a hero.
Right on.
The only hard part is using it, because obviously if there's any creeps nearby or there's other heroes or anything.
Yeah. It's like Rainer's Hyperion. If there's creeps or structures nearby, I mean, it's pretty much useless.
But, you know, one thing that's interesting about Falstad is the fact that he has fly, and with a lot of heroes like I think we're going to see a lot of Murky eggs in the jungle. We're going to see, you know, maybe Abathur's in the jungle, and, you know, Gazlo in the jungle once in a while. I feel like Falstad, like you said, isolating, he just wrecks almost anyone when he uses a W. So I wonder if it's going to develop to the point where he's actually kind of flying into the jungle to hunt someone down. If you see like the locust coming from a direction, like, oh, maybe Abathur's over there, stuff like that. So I'm curious if that's ever going to be a thing, because I feel like jungling is going to develop more. Like right now, jungling isn't always a defined role. I don't really see it that often, but I think it might develop more. And I think ganking jungle is going to be a big part of the game, and I think he will definitely excel at it.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into his talents. Now, have any of you actually played the caster Falstad? I did one game with him after, I think, it might have been Idra who told me about the build. I didn't really enjoy it all that much, but, I mean, I know Greg's played it quite a bit. Have any of you played with the caster Falstad at all?
Caster as in overdrive rewinds.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the build I run, actually. So
Really?
it'll be interesting to hear that.
Kubi, you're like always that weird one on the show. Why do you do these things?
Yep.
Well, you need different opinions or it'd be really boring.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Tier 1 guys, what are you guys taking, Greg?
I almost always get Path of the Assassin. Bribe used to be pretty good on him. I don't like getting it. I don't like getting it on damage heroes because I feel like you give up too much, but he was the one just because you can fly in Bribe Knights immediately. But with the rework to Bribe, it doesn't work like that anymore. I don't think you should ever get it. And then the best to his E, I feel like he already has survivability necessary. I think Path of the Assassin helps. Plus, I play him mostly auto attack, so it synergizes with that. So always Path of the Assassin for me.
Corey?
Always take Path, yeah. Used to take Bribe before they changed it. No, not as good. But,
quick derailed question here. Do you guys take Bribe ever anymore? I have not taken Bribe since the change.
Not really.
I do. I still take it.
On who?
Mostly, actually, you're gonna probably kill me for this one, but Sergeant Hammer I've been taking a lot.
Really?
Oh, that's god awful.
Discussion.
No,
That's
God, Kevin.
No.
Why?
I've been doing it just because whenever I solo queue with Sergeant Hammer, actually whenever I solo queue, I will generally grab Bribe more often, just because that way I can control both a lane as well as jungle camps. So when I'm not in more than a 3-man, then I'll grab Bribe more often just because of that. And I know it's going to cost my effectiveness in fights, but it's solo queue, so everybody else is that much terrible than me anyway. So I'd rather win in objectives and in team fights because I'm mechanically better than everybody. But
Wow.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean,
again, it's only in solo queue, but going by straw poll, everybody goes by Path of Assassin. That's what I do for Falstad as well.
Yeah, let's. There is a straw poll in the chat, guys. Make sure you check that out. There is a straw poll.
For every talent tree, we want to see what you guys think of the talents you pick.
I mean,
Greg, do you take Bribe on any characters right now? Heroes?
Not anyone that I play regularly, but I mostly end up playing assassins. I don't know, I can't think. I always used to get it on the Abathur. I thought he was the one where it's mandatory, but even now, after the changes, I think the tankier locusts are better on him. Yeah. So no, I really don't.
I've seen people get it on Nazebo. And
that's Witch Doctor, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah, that's it. That's the only character I've seen people really... I don't play Nazebo at all myself, so I can't really relate.
Dead hero, dead game. Move on.
Dead game, dead hero. But yeah, no, Bribe is... I don't think it's terrible, but it's definitely not what it was.
Yeah, back to Falstad. Path of Assassin seems to be unanimous amongst all of us.
Oh yeah. Hands down.
Alright, let's move on to the next tier. I take Vampiric Assault.
We got Vamp Assault, Stone Hammer, Wild Hammer, and Zap. And you take Vamp Assault, even regardless of your comp. If you have double support, you got triple support, you tank Vamp Assault.
I've never been with triple assault support, so I don't know. I always take Vamp Assault. I don't play them too often though. It's where I like experiment with the other ones. I don't know what these other guys do. I think this is the tier with the exploding hammering, right?
No, this is
no.
First hit deals 150% damage. So that's the one I take. I take Wild Hammer. I take Wild Hammer. So
you take Wild Hammer. Why did you Wild Hammer?
Wild Hammer. Why do I take Wild Hammer? Just to increase the burst damage that he does. And you combine that with overdrive and everything later on.
Right.
Oh yeah, you
lot.
Right,
I play the weird build, so. But he does incredible amounts of burst damage, especially combined with his later talents and everything. So, yeah, that's why I just pile it all on basically, just to make sure that I'm killing everybody.
I actually get zap.
Jake, why?
Explain yourself.
It's steady, more damage. Just it's sustained damage at all times.
Interesting.
It's good. It's good. I think it's
That's
good.
a word for it. Interesting, Kev.
Well, if it was a bigger cooldown reduction, it goes from 15 to 13. That's not enough, in my opinion. That's why I like the idea of it. The concept's nice.
Wait, I thought it was.
It's the passive, Corey.
It's the passive.
It's not the
cooldown.
activate. It's the
2
passive.
seconds. So it takes it from 8 to 6.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the passive.
Are you sure?
Still, then
Yeah,
I don't think that's better than
it.
the
Literally
other
says Thunderstorm's passive.
No, you're right. It does say
8 to
passive.
6.
Okay.
I mean,
My apologies.
that's not great, but that's still only adding. I mean, you look at the effectiveness in terms of cooldowns. That's still pretty low in terms of everything else.
That almost makes it worse then. It almost makes it worse.
I don't think so.
Make it worse
Because I could. No,
Because
I mean, in based on what I thought it was, because that move is, to me, it's all about burst damage. So that doesn't really help that much because the activatable doesn't really change. So.
Greg, do you only take Vamp Assault, or do you sometimes take Stormhammer when you have double support?
Yeah. Stormhammer or Wildhammer?
Wildhammer. Sorry.
I don't.
Whatever
know,
the one that does damage.
It just doesn't seem to make sense with it because it's an ability that hits multiple heroes, and so because of that, its damage isn't so good. So taking a bonus damage for a single target really isn't that. Like neither of the ability buffs here, Zap or Wildhammer, really seem to be worthwhile. Even if I'm going like Cast or Falstad, I think I'd still rather have Vampiric Assault. Kind of interested in Stormhammer though. I never really tried that just because to me he's a sustained, survivable DPS kind of hero, which screams lifesteal. So I have never not gotten it. I should probably experiment with that a bit. But the Wildhammer and Zap just seem so underwhelming for it's just not worth it to get them, even if you're going Caster. I don't think.
Okay. Chat mainly agreed with Vamp Assault, but there were some Stormhammers thrown in there. Cool to see your guys' opinions.
To clarify, I do get Vamp Assault if we don't have a lot of support on my team. But if I'm running like 3 support, Zap's fun. I don't know.
Why would you run 3 support, Jake? Why?
It's viable with Tyrande, in my opinion, but that's another.
Depending on the support.
Nothing is viable with Tyrande. Stop it.
I disagree, but I disagree. But.
Silly goose.
Actually, we ran a really fun. Anyway, doesn't matter. Back to Falstad.
Level tier 3. Or wait, Kevin, did you have anything to add to Vamp Assault?
Nope, that's all I had. Vamp Assault. That's all I go for.
Tier 3.
I go with Boomerang.
Boom. Yep.
Or
That's the
Rang.
best one. But
No.
no.
I'm on the big side here. No. That's
Actually, I'd like to hear about the argument for battle momentum because
Battle momentum. You get the laser more often, and then you kill people more often. It's really, really good.
That's true. That's true.
yeah. I like.
I think that's kind of enough. But I think Flyaway actually has it. You can make an argument for it too on some maps, like on Dragon Knight. I think Flyaway is pretty good as well. But I get battle momentum probably like 90% of the time, and it's almost entirely just for the laser. It's not bad for his Q and W either, because you should be auto attacking just constantly in fights because you put out a good amount of damage that way, and your Q and your W do pretty respectable damage. So it's a lot more damage output overall.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'd never take Boomerang. That was like the first time I played Falstad. This seems cool, and then I was like, oh, this is really bad. Never again. And
it's fun.
It's
fun. But,
yeah, I can see it being fun. I think I've gotten it like twice.
But so. I agree with battle momentum.
Yeah, battle momentum. Chat seems to agree mainly with battle momentum. 2 boomerangs and a flyaway. I mean, flyaway is really good too, like for certain maps. I love using it on like Blackheart Bay. You can just be everywhere, and it's very objective control map, and Dragonshire as well. So I mean, there's arguments. I don't think there's an argument for boomerang, but for
wow. It gives you an extra hit. That's so good, though, especially with the overdrive. I'm surprised. You can really you can wreck people real fast with that.
I love the AoE damage that it does. That's all that I really like. Because, like, in terms of curse maps, etc., like, everybody's generally kind of clumped up. I like the AoE damage.
Although I do agree with battle momentum, I've seen Corey do some ridiculous stuff with his Falstad build, so I can't count it out. He's made Boomerang work really well for him. But Personally,
I play very auto-attacky like Idra, so...
Yeah.
The thing about Caster Falstad is I feel like auto-attack Falstad does almost as much spell damage as Caster Falstad. It just feels like the talents that are geared towards his abilities, the Qs and the Ws, it just feels like they don't add very much. It just doesn't feel worth getting them. It's like you already do a lot with your abilities, and it just doesn't seem like it gets that much better by focusing all your talents on it. Like, I feel like you could do almost everything that he has done with that build, even if you weren't talenting for it. It's more just about how you use the abilities, because they're just innately good, and I don't think they gain very much. That's my biggest problem with the style.
Well, I mean, everything bumps up the damage. So like Wild Hammer will bring it up another 50%. Then you got the Boom Hammer, that's an additional hit, so that's another 50% on top of that. So the amount of burst damage that you can do is really insane, especially when you tack on Overdrive. So I mean, you can pretty much take anyone down like boom, 2 seconds, especially with the rewind, casting it again. But
but what about sustained fights?
Yeah, sustained fights and like the auto attack damage, like you're always going to be auto attacking, but there's moments where you will be out of mana. So you stack all this like spell damage stuff to points where it's like, oh, now I'm and
okay, maybe I should caveat this build with saying that it kind of works for the current meta, where everyone just kind of like throws their faces at each other right at the tribute and just says, okay, whoever wins that initial fight gets the tribute. If the meta shifts towards more sustained fights, people are poking at each other more, spacing becomes a lot more important, then yeah, this probably won't work, because you guys are right, the cooldowns won't make for it, you won't have the mana pool. But I think as it is, having that burst damage is really useful. But
I kind of feel like sustained compositions are really good right now. Like the double support, triple survivable ranged assassin.
5 support builds.
That's Siege. The Moon
we did that the
Siege.
other night in one, didn't we?
It's so fun.
Yeah, I've done it with like 5 times, and every single time it wins. And
That's because we only do it when there's clearly no 5-stack on, and we're having really boring games.
And then we hit
we only do it against
and
terrible.
we get wrecked when we do 4.
It's so fun though. Oh my god.
anyway,
Let's
Okay,
move on to,
fine.
let's move on to heroics.
heroics, whatever.
Yeah.
Heroics.
You know, so
we
hold on,
talked
just
about it
real
on
quick.
episode 13, where I said I didn't like the Blitzkrieg spell. Like, we've talked about it before. Idris brought it up a lot, where he thinks you should be able to move while casting that, be able to vault it or something.
Well, it's kind of like half serious, but I think it'd be really cool if you could start the cast while you were in flight, so you could like fly into a middle of battle. If you time it right, then Blitzkrieg goes off right as you land, and then you can just E out. I think that would be cool. I don't know if it's actually practical. But yeah, as it stands, the ability definitely needs a tweak. He just doesn't have the survivability to be channeling a spell in the middle of a fight.
Agreed.
think it has any place in the Wombo combo teams? Is it useful enough? Not really.
Even then, Shock and Awe.
Right before the patch where Shock and Awe got a ninja buff, I was starting to mess around with it, especially with that kind of composition, and it was pretty good. It tends to be enough range that you can kind of be on the edge of a fight and still hit a good number of people, and like a trade-off between not dying and actually getting it off. But after the buff, it's just so easy to kill people with Shock and Awe now. And it's a good amount of AoE damage. So if you have a Gazelle or something, you drop a laser on top of it. It's pretty much as good as hitting everyone with a Blitzkrieg.
Okay.
It's a really, really good ability. And super fun, which not as relevant, but very, very fun to use.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it just needs to be a little better, I think. I mean, Shock and Awe, like, I love the change they made to it. Like, the day we realized it happened, we're like, wow, this one visual change made the ult so much better. Before you could, like, kind of dodge it if it wasn't 100% square on, and now you can't see it, so good change. I get Shock and Awe all the time.
Yeah, most people agree. 8-2.
I mean, it's just so good in like Cursed Hollow because everybody has to kind of get into those little lanes, and then all of trying to get into the jungle and get to the tribute, and you just get like 9 people, even though there's only 5 on the other team. You're gonna hit 9 people with that.
Teammates take damage now all of a sudden.
Your allies
no, I can see it being very, very good on Curse, just the way that the map is set up and the tributes and everything. But it looks like most people agree. Shock and Awe.
Yeah. That's
right, level 13. Next tier, let's go.
Yeah.
About that.
So this is where everybody's gonna differ. Gonna have
I think it's pretty straightforward. It's Giant Killer or Overdrive, very obviously. If you're going a caster build, you have to get Overdrive. Even if I'm going auto attacker, if they only have 1 tank or they have no tank, I still get Overdrive just because it's really good for the laser. I think that's the most straightforward tier, even though there are 2 very viable options, because it's very clear when you should get them.
Yep, I agree completely.
I agree. Either or.
Yeah, I go Giant Killer every time. I don't ever get Overdrive just because I'm just scared of mana. I have like huge mana fears. What if I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, what if I'm in the middle of a battle and I don't have mana?
I don't
Giant
even go
Killer will always be there.
Guys.
I don't go the caster build. Wow.
Our viewers are so smart.
I mean, I don't even go. I never go to spellcaster build, but sometimes I get Overdrive. Like, Giant Killer is only good when there's, well, not only good, but it's much better when there's multiple tanks. So
Giant Killer always good.
I like Lightning Storm because I can kill the creeps faster, and when the creeps die faster, we win.
Have you ever seen a giant, Sir Mormount? I have.
Wrong scene. Fail.
Yeah, pretty easy. Just depends on how you're playing it. Level 16.
Level 16.
We're getting there.
Jake, your production's all over the place.
It was a long day, man.
Slow and steady.
Long day at work.
I'll get Afterburner.
Afterburner.
I mean, I just loved. I originally I would always get Rewind until
you saw how fast Afterburner makes you.
Yeah, and then I saw Falstad one time, and I was like, "Why is he so ridiculously fast? It doesn't. No, nobody's this fast. Not even the Flash." And then I realized it was from Afterburner.
I have a feeling Jake's the one that's throwing out these weird picks in the straw poll, like Gust of Wind. Like, it has to be Jake just trying to troll.
You see, Gust of Wind.
Jake's got a tank Falstad build.
Gust of Wind has the same icon as Emerald Wind, so therefore it must be amazing.
Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Right?
No, Afterburner every time. Rewind can be good. I actually do think it can be very good, but Afterburner.
When you pick Stone Skin, somebody's going the tank Falstad build.
I actually don't know if it takes a wind, but.
Yeah, Stone Skin is the one that's really
There's
out of place for me.
3 votes for Stone Skin. We got
People are trolling. There's trolls. Okay? There's no other answer for that. Trolls. I mean, Greg, you take Afterburner all the time?
Yeah. If its health weren't so pitiful, maybe you could go like Stone Skin into Blitzkrieg or something. But the fact that it's based on your max health, like percentage, just no. I've actually gotten Gust of Wind occasionally. It seems kind of nice if you're not having survivability issues. But yeah, Afterburner is just so good. It's kind of hard to mess up.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, let's do level 20 then.
I assume most people are going to take the upgrade. But...
yeah.
Do
I almost always get Blast of All.
Really? I get Bolt.
No.
You're just like trying to get brownie points with Trick Slayer right now by saying that. That's all you're
No, I honestly get Bolt. I am a very aggressive assassin, and having Bolt gives me 2 ways to be aggressive and be safe about it.
But he doesn't need to be like that. Like, he's not supposed to be diving in. He's supposed to be on the edge doing damage.
Says you.
Good defense. Solid defense.
Yeah.
I go for Bolt. I think it's really good because he can be that in that way. I just find Bolt good on everybody. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Tim's wrong on that, but Bolt I find is really good on assassins.
Blast of All is what I get. The upgrade to the ult.
Yeah.
So if you were to get Blitzkrieg?
I think
it's gigantic.
Yeah.
50% faster plus the shield. Like, I got that.
Yeah.
It's very, very good.
I almost wish the shield was a
inherit thing on the talent.
Yeah, that would be one way to buff it.
Then you could use
Yeah.
Bolt, blink in, and then freaking Blitzkrieg. That would be cool,
That
but
would be very cool.
you can't do that, so bad. So yeah, that's the talents and stuff.
Real quick and dirty
Is there any?
I feel like Falstad is so much more like cut and dry than the other heroes we talked about last week.
Comparatively, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, comparatively,
What do you
yes.
mean by that?
Is there any
Just-
situation?
There was a
where-
lot less arguing. Like, if you compare...
And, yeah, last week we were... I mean, we
Which heroes
had
did you do last
fights.
week?
We were all talking... Muradin and Tycho.
Well, I could argue
I can see
Falstad
fighting
this
about
week.
Tychus.
The only argument I make for Falstad this week that we can make against you guys is that you're dumb for going the caster build.
Wow.
There's not
Yo.
much you can say more than that.
Yo, I'm gonna make a combo video. I like to say combo videos. I don't know why. Of Kubi playing Falstad,
Yeah.
because Kubi's Falstad
I don't
build.
believe it.
I don't play it personally, but I watch him do it, and he he has a lot of success.
I doubt. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not near as good as just the standard on it.
Well, you know what?
I don't
Tell you
know.
what.
Well, maybe
tell
it's
you
just not your playstyle.
To be
It's
fair,
wrong.
yeah.
No.
There's only one
I'll
right
try
way.
the auto attack build. I'll try it out. But just how I've been messing around with him, the caster is just too much burst damage to pass up, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Is there any comp or situation where you think Falstad is a bad choice?
Executioner, since he doesn't get it. Makes Valor, because him and Valor are pretty similar in my mind, except for like it's execution.
Yeah.
He's really bad in 5 support builds. So he's not.
5 supports, huh? I don't know how you fit a Falstad into 5 supports.
You know, I have a question.
bonus character.
We're talking about categories. Is Murky an assassin or a
He's
specialist?
specialist.
Gotta be a
He's
specialist. It's gotta be.
He's
So
specialist.
we can run 5 specialist stacks
Yeah.
finally. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. That's all I want to know.
Okay, that was random. Yeah, I mean, any last thoughts on Falstad, guys? I mean, I think he's one
really
of the
good.
cooler.
He's really good.
The flyability makes him so unique. I mean,
I wish
like
the
him a lot.
cooldown was lower. That's my big
Talented.
thing.
It's,
The talent.
Yeah, that is true.
The talent.
20 seconds.
20 seconds is a big deal, man.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake.
Rip.
So before we end the show, we
have a
try to
couple
do
of questions.
Ask Us questions, but instead it's Ask Idra questions. So
I'm fine with this. He's our guest, so why not?
yeah.
So we have a couple of questions on Reddit, and I guess I'll just read them because
I also have a few from
I can
Twitter.
read and Zoya can't.
I have Twitter ones as well, Kev.
Well, yeah, nobody cares about that. Anyway, the first one is Idra. We know you most likely will be going back, or you most likely won't go back to full-time pro gaming with you starting school and all. But is there a chance we could see you participating in a Heroes of the Storm tournament? It will give you the opportunity to meet some friends and fans you won't get to meet otherwise, along with conveying your skill.
I mean, yeah, of course. I enjoy the game a lot. It kind of going to depend on what kind of scene develops. But the thing is, even if I'm going to be a caster, I'm like not exciting at all. So I have to be an analytical caster, which means I still have to be good at the game. So if the situation arises where an event wants me to play, or I feel like playing instead of casting or whatever, then yeah, that'll happen. It's also well, actually, that's not really related at all. It's just a kind of a tangent. I'm really curious to see what happens with casting for heroes, because casting MOBAs fucking impresses me. Like, I don't know. When you're casting StarCraft, you can kind of just say what's happening and people think you're smart. It's a weird little gimmick we found. But in MOBAs, there's 10 people doing things all at once, and people who can cast MOBA battles really well are very impressive. I'm kind of curious to see what happens with that. That aside, I would still like to compete a bit. I miss that a little.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, DG Deceived, the guy who's been asking questions, was the guy who asked that question, and I completely agree with you from the casting perspective, because
we casted League together.
Zoya and I had tried League a little bit, and I tried a little bit more than just that, and it was kind of hard, but actually trying the cast things from the Blizzard, so you think you can cast. This game's on a different level. It's like everything's happening all the time. It was like Zerg versus Zerg constantly, where you just have to keep yelling. It's like Zerg versus Zerg, Zergling versus Bangling battles, where you pretty much just felt like you were yelling the entire time. Now, those were just very early in the alpha games, but that was something that I thought was really interesting about this game, is because those team fights happen all the time.
Yeah, but
in League of Legends, you have like a couple of moments, especially in laning phase, to talk about all these theoreticals of what's happening, because you have a 40-minute game ahead of you. But
I feel like the game's going to have a lot of tools that assist in telling the story of the game, and it's not just going to be about highlighting the constant action, because there's going to be a lot of action, but there's going to be a lot of strategy going on. There's going to be a lot of decision making that the casters are going to have to highlight that the average viewer might not understand, and compositions and, and understanding like what talents are going to be picking. So yes, there's going to be a lot going on, but I think it's going to be a fine line between the casters determining what to talk about. And I have a hunch that the maps are going to get a little bit bigger. I know Blizzard wants to keep the game text short, but I have a hunch that the maps will grow a little bit. I mean, Cursed Hollow is definitely a larger map compared to Dragonshire. At least the lanes are a little bit further apart, and getting a gank isn't necessarily as readily available depending on your composition. But I don't know. I have a hunch that the maps are going to be a little bit bigger. I mean, look at StarCraft 2, Steps of War. Like the game changed a little bit since then. I mean, Steps of War was just let's build bunkers and siege tanks and just win the game. I mean. It was very, very aggro, very fast-paced, but I have a feeling that the game will change.
I don't think anyone was saying that there won't be a need for analytical casters, but the play-by-play for this game is definitely going to be very intense, especially when you get to, the mid to late game. There's going to be a lot of screaming.
Yes.
Next question, Kev.
So next question is from Messiah. I guess he's really mehing everything. This question can be for the group. Idra, do you think Heroes will turn into something big in the world of esports? Sure, this is asked a lot. Also, if so, do you think it will overrun the current MOBA veteran pro player? I'm sorry. Do you think it will be overrun with MOBA veteran pro player competitors from other games such as LoL, Dota 2, or will new faces have a chance at greatness?
I think it'll be largely new faces and the rejects or the mid-levels from the other games. Because, if you have a good thing going, you're not going to
So brutal.
No, he's got a point. He's got a point. If you're already good at one game, why would you switch?
Yeah. But I think it definitely can be an esport. I'd almost say will, but that kind of depends on how Blizzard does with it. They've said they're not particularly aiming for esport. And I'm sure part of that's just to cover their ass. I'm sure there is an intention to go into that, and they'll be very happy if it does. But, they're not aiming for that, and they have shown that the casuals are their main audience. They're going more down the Hearthstone road. They want to be a bit more... They want to have that mass appeal, which you can't blame them for. So there's a possibility something funky happens on that end. They make a really bad decision or whatever, but I'd be very surprised if esports does not develop in some form or another. And I think it's going to be legit. It's not going to be like, well, so many people are playing this, they'll watch it no matter what, so we're going to put a bunch of people mashing their heads together on a stream. Because, I don't know, the casual version of League thing is really, really overblown. Like, people massively overestimate and underestimate what is important and what isn't in League of Legends and everything. Dota is a whole other situation. They shouldn't even be compared. But between League and Heroes, Heroes is no more casual than League, given that you take that this isn't an alpha and League has been running the biggest professional esports league in the world for the last couple of years, and they have all the developments come with that. So it absolutely can be.
I agree with everything.
It's a really good answer. Yeah. Anyone that says the game's not going to be an esport, Blizzard has covered their ass, like you said, to say that it's not going to be an esport. But they're doing these so you think you can cast things since the start of the alpha or before the alpha. At BlizzCon, they've already announced there's a tournament for the game, so they're already supporting the scene to an extent. And at BlizzCon last year, they said, flat out, we're going to give the community the tools they need to make what they want, and they said they're happy to support that. So I think it's inevitable. There's no stopping it.
I don't know. I think they're just trying to cover their ass. Whenever someone goes, "We want our game to be in esports," usually 90% of the time it flops.
Yeah, I don't want to crap on the games, but I'm not going to
Shoot Mania.
I'm not going to give specifics, but yeah, a lot of companies they're like, we're just going to make this game that's an esport, and it doesn't work out. I think focusing on making a good quality, fun game, right choice.
Yeah.
I got a Twitter question here.
Ooh, Twitter, fancy.
What are your current thoughts? It's for Idra. I guess we can all answer this. What's the current thoughts on the state of the game, and are there any major changes you think need to be made to it?
I think the most important thing is the talent tree. We talked about it in a decent amount of depth before, but I think they should just keep it at 4. I think 4 options per tier is enough. And I think the biggest thing is they're smart and they're powerful. They're very impactful. I feel like it should be the equivalent of a major item in League or Dota. It should be a massive power spike when you get that, and because it needs to be an important decision, because that's pretty much the biggest thing you get in terms of customization of your hero. So I think making sure that there's multiple very powerful, viable options at every level for the talent tree is the biggest thing. And then I hope there's heroes that are capable of playmaking. Not necessarily mechanically difficult, although I think it kind of goes hand in hand, but I think it's very important to have heroes that can do things that look really cool and are impressive. It can't be too simple and straightforward, because it's not fun, it's not good for viewers, it's not good for players. The only thing it's good for is to not feel worse than other people, and it's okay to be a little casual, but you can't go that far with it. So those are my 2 big things.
Can't disagree.
Are there any more Reddit questions, Kev? Or go ahead, Corey.
I think they're going in the right direction. They're making a lot of the right choices. I basically just want to see more of everything. Just keep expanding. So far, yeah, I wasn't really too happy, like Greg was saying, them expanding to 5, 6. He's right. They do need to fix what they have first. But if they manage to come up with good options for every tier and they can add more, fine. But fix what you have and just keep expanding. We need more stuff. That's
One thing I like that they're doing right is we've seen we've talked about this a lot, like on the early Town Hall episodes. They're doing very little nerfing right now and doing primarily buffing.
That's
like
great.
When things are obviously broken, like Raynor when the Executioner thing was going on, yeah, that definitely need to be tweaked a bit. But for the most part, everything's getting buffed a bit, and I hate it. Like in StarCraft, that was always their answer. Something was nerf, 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 nerf. Like this is too strong, so let's completely just kind of rail it into the ground. I like the fact that they're taking heroes with a new way. Every time everything we saw today was buffs, and I like that a lot.
My question for you, Idra. Do you think there's something in Heroes that will end up being the bunker of the game, where they change it every patch?
Just constantly tweak it. Feels like every game has that.
Probably Raynor.
Darkseer's vacuum and stuff. No, I don't know. I think Murky is going to be very, very temperamental balance-wise.
Yeah.
They're going to be bouncing back and forth a lot on him. I'm not sure if that really qualifies as the bunker of the game. Because the bunker was kind of like small and insignificant, and they just changed it because God knows why. And I think there's going to be very obvious reasons to change Murky, and they're just going to have trouble getting him dialed in. I don't know, what would actually be a bunker?
I'm trying to think of something that's insignificant enough that would warrant changes.
Maybe like
the nature
eventually
of it is that it doesn't make sense.
Like Merc spawn timers or something.
I could see Bribe getting tweaked a lot, like just because of how the model changes.
Yeah,
But that's pretty important too.
Answer,
So,
yeah, true.
Because do you feel like that was a major nerf to Bribe, and do you think that it's underpowered now? Like,
at first I was okay with it, but now I think it's a huge I didn't realize how when I took Bribe, it was good for the Giants, but I took it for Knights.
So what if
now taking the Knights was like 90% of it.
Yeah, so I think it's a huge nerf now. At first I was kind of okay with it, but now I don't go Bribe anymore. I mean, I could see me taking on Nazebo because his tier 1 towns are just generally trash, but
yeah, that's the only character I can see it on. Period. Like, I don't know why Brightwing has.
I don't even take it on Brightwing.
It blows
anymore.
my mind. It blows my mind. It should not be on Brightwing. It's like one of the. I think it's the worst option for tier 1 on Brightwing.
Stitches could be worse. You might take it on Stitches. Like his tier 1s are like, eh. They're not bad, but they're like not game changing.
But overall, yeah, Bribe's much worse. Like it's considerably worse.
Yeah. What about Abathur? I feel like characters that are like have a high skill ceiling, but they're just like really weird to play because they're going for the casual theme here. I feel like that's going to be a super hard thing to balance, and they'll just mess around with balancing that too much.
Look at Stitches and Falstad. If you take Bribe on them, you take out the Sorcerer and one of the Knights.
No. I mean just balancing Abathur in general.
Oh, I thought you were talking about
in terms of like the bunker concept.
So, I see Bribe being really good on Zagara, if she has it. I could see it working out on her. Because she's pure push, looks like. I mean, we don't know that much about her, but from what I can tell, from what we can tell, she's just all about being all over the map, at least at level 10 once you have Nidus. But at the same time, she may not need it.
They said that they are changing Abathur in the Q&A today. They said they're making a lot of changes to his symbiote, making like the shield and the poke better.
I wonder if he'll get a second heroic, because he's the only character with one heroic.
I don't know if there's ever a heroic they can make that I would want over a clone of another hero, ever.
What I want them to do with that. I'm sorry, this is just something that's been really bugging me lately. Is that Abathur clone? I want them to make the cooldown shorter, but the clone to be way weaker, because it's so annoying having 2 Zeratul. One of them you shouldn't spend any thought on, because he's going to be dead soon.
But you have to.
Has way too much health. He's just got so much health.
He needs that to be viable in a team fight situation. Without that, you have nothing.
Then you should, have another.
I think we should not talk about Abathur today because we could talk forever.
We'll talk about. You know what? Can we do Abathur next week?
Yeah, we'll see Abathur next week.
Yeah, Abathur and Tyrande.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Well, unless patch comes out next week.
Unless patch comes out, and then it's
probably. Let's just go with Abathur.
Yeah. Any other questions for Idra in the Reddit thread? Or did you go through
them? Nothing notable. Squishy asked a question, but I don't really like Squishy, so
snap.
Squish face.
No, it was like if Town Hall had a hero, what would it be like? And I feel like we've done enough hero ideation in the first episode.
But if we had our own mascot in the game, and you don't want to ask this question,
No.
It would be my face with Kevin's hair, and it's perfection.
It would be Sham Sham. It would be Sham Sham, the Lily Sham 2.
Yep. Nope. I'm quitting the show just so that doesn't come into existence.
2-hour show, guys. Let's end it. This is too long.
Oh God,
I'm tired. I'm tired. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. It's Town Hall episode 14. Special thanks to Idra for coming on and talking Heroes of the Storm. We were hoping for patch notes to discuss today, but that didn't happen. We still talked a lot about Falstad. Had a good discussion. So Idra, you got any shout outs you want to make, man?
Not really shout-outs anymore, but follow me on Twitter at Idra, and then I'm streaming. I guess a lot of people don't know yet. I'm now streaming over on MLG, so you can find that at mlg.tv/Idra. I'm still kind of in the process of moving and getting school started up, so I'm not streaming nearly as much as I want to be. So hopefully I can get that all out of the way, and then by the time this catch goes live, I can stream it a bunch. Yeah, mlg.tv/Idra. Go check that out.
Is there any reason why you dropped the JIT?
Idra's just kind of what I'm known as. It's simpler, easier.
Yeah, I think it's smart.
Good branding, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always my ID. Idra was just kind of what I used, like, if 4 characters wasn't long enough for an ID or something.
Yeah.
And also Idra was taken when I started, so that was that.
Don't you have Idra now, though, as your Twitter?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, so you can follow him on Twitter at Idra.
Yeah.
It says there on the screen. Kevin, man, take it away.
Check out my YouTube, youtube.com/sham2, SCHAMTOO, as well as my Twitter, which is the same. Follow Town Hall at Town Hall Show. I know right now I'm doing Plays of the Week. I'm calling it Sham2's Fun Plays of the Week because I don't really have footage of anybody else playing, and the replay system is kind of bugged. So right now I'm kind of focusing on just doing those and kind of just casting battles. So please don't be like, wow, Sham2, stop trying to show off your terrible skill. I know I'm terrible. It's just for casting.
Hey, guys.
Just enjoy it.
Kevin's videos are fun, okay? The fun plays are he was, like, almost dead on Sergeant Hammer, and he got away. Okay, there's nothing more fun than that.
So hype.
Also, my shout-out is to unfollow IVD Zoya.
Wow. Rip.
Yeah. Corey, take it away, man.
Oh my goodness. Yes, follow me, @OmegaBlackMage on Twitter. And you can also check me out sporadically on Sham2's videos. Him just making me look terrible. Only picks my bad plays. Thanks for that.
Only picks your bad plays. You act like that's any different from the set of all of your plays.
You know what? I thought about this. It's like, he's going to do this to me. I don't know why I gave you the opportunity.
And there he goes, flying off screen.
Like a beautiful Falstad.
You know what? No, that's okay. I got you last week with the shout-outs, so this is fair. This is completely
MLG, take it away, man.
MLG, he calls me. I also stream on MLG TV. It's mlg.tv/solidjake. I have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/solidjakegd. The VOD will be there. I revived my Heroes highlight video where I kind of I take a hero and tell you everything about them. I go through their talents. I go through their play style, and I'm mainly going to focus on the characters I play. I just made one for Brightwing. I decided to boot it up and just start talking, and it's 15 minutes long. I will probably not make these videos 15 minutes long typically, but feel free to check that out on my YouTube, and this VOD will be there if you missed the beginning of the show. So, bam. Twitter, same deal.
All right, cool. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. You can follow this channel here. You can subscribe if you want to, help me buy more Lunchables. They are delicious. I love the pizza one. They are hype. If you guys want to follow my team, you can check them out at ivdgaming.com. Twitter's IVD Gaming as well. Our StarCraft squad's pretty solid. We beat Root Gaming last week in a clan war. I'm also a part of the Hearthstone squad because I'm awesome at that game, as well as Heroes of the Storm. So you can follow the stream again if you want to watch me be awesome at Heroes of the Storm. Follow all these cast members. Again, special thank you to Greg for coming on the show. Had a great discussion today. See you guys next week, same time, same place for episode 15. Have a good night, everybody. Hopefully we have a patch and some Murky. No. You just said the F word on air. Corey, that counts. We spent 50 minutes just talking about like hero changes, like this.
Even if patch wasn't live, it's not a patch to talk about.
Yeah.
Yep.